Park Min-young plays Kang Ji-won, a woman with terminal cancer. Her best friend is having an affair with her husband. Kang Ji-won is then murdered by the two of them. The next second, she's reborn 10 years in the past. Before her rebirth, Kang Ji-won was constantly harassed by her mother-in-law because she couldn't get pregnant. Her mother-in-law considered her useless. Her husband sits by and does nothing. After that, her husband didn't even discuss it with her. Before quitting his job to invest in stocks, he completely disregarded the monthly mortgage payments. Kang Ji-won could only work desperately to earn money to support the family. Under the multiple pressures, her health deteriorated. By the time Kang Ji-won was diagnosed, it was already terminal stomach cancer. Unexpectedly, after her mother-in-law found out, she only pitied her own son. Her husband, however, was concerned about who would cook for him if Kang Ji-won fell ill. The two brazenly discussed her life and death in front of Kang Ji-won. They even warned her not to tell the company about her illness, insisting she keep working until she was physically unable. Kang Ji-won's condition worsened, and she was hospitalized. She felt that although she didn't have a good husband, she was fortunate to have a good best friend. However, she didn't know her best friend was already having an affair with her husband. Kang Ji-won sensed her husband's infidelity. Soo-min told her not to be so sensitive. Get well soon. You must persevere and not give up. I'll always be here for you. After Kang Ji-won finished her 4-drip, an older woman in the same ward offered her some advice. If you're not feeling well, don't think about your husband's affair. Doesn't she still have her good friend with her? Meanwhile, after leaving the hospital, her good friend, Soo-min, headed straight to Kang Ji-won's house. Just as the two were getting intimate, the hospital notified Kang Ji-won that if she wanted to continue treatment, she needed her family to come. Should I pay the fee, or take her home? It turned out her husband had never paid her fees. So Kang Ji-won called him, but no one answered. With no other choice, Kang Ji-won had to drag her sick body home to find him. She had just left the hospital. A taxi came towards her. Kang Ji-won got in. The driver said she looked very ill, but that she should recover soon. But Kang Ji-won told him she wouldn't get better, and that there was no point in living. Her father had passed away a long time ago, and she had no siblings. Having a husband like that is worse than having none. Then she wouldn't be unable to pay her medical bills and be in so much debt. The driver took him down a road he'd never seen before. After passing through the tunnel, he saw a field of cherry blossom trees. Cherry blossoms rained down from the sky. After passing through the cherry blossom grove, they arrived at Kang Ji-won's front door. Kang Ji-won paid the driver and got out of the car. Before leaving, on the same flight, he returned her taxi fare. He said it was his last day driving a taxi. He said to treat it as pocket money from her father. He asked Kang Ji-won to keep it as a souvenir. After the driver insisted, Kang Ji-won accepted the 10,000 won. As the driver left, he waved to Kang Ji-won. It was like a farewell. Then, as soon as Kang Ji-won entered the house, she saw a pair of red high heels. Then she heard her best friend's voice coming from the bedroom, asking her husband why he thought to take out cancer insurance. It turned out that her husband knew Kang Ji-won's father had died of cancer, and seeing her gradually losing weight afterward, he thought she would also die of it. So he bought the insurance. He would get 1 billion won after Kang Ji-won's death. Kang Ji-won looked at the scene in disbelief. Soo-min even asked if she should take him outside for some air and secretly push her. Kang Ji-won wanted to leave, but she saw the photo of herself and her father ruthlessly thrown on the table. She completely broke down. Kang Ji-won didn't expect her closest friend to betray her. She angrily shouted that she would kill them both. However, her husband only thought she was too loud and told her to shut up. He even tried to hit her. After all, Kang Ji-won couldn't do anything now. Kang Ji-won tried her best to chase after them, but because she was too weak, she collapsed on the ground. Her husband wanted to go over and scold her, but Soo-min stopped her. However, what Soo-min said to Kang Ji-won was even crueler. She said that Kang Ji-won was going to die anyway. As she was about to leave, Kang Ji-won grabbed her. Kang Ji-won vented her anger. She asked, "Doesn't she die too?" Seeing this, her husband immediately stepped forward to pull them apart. He pushed her away. Kang Ji-won thought she had 6 months left, at the shortest. If a miracle happened, she could live for 12 months. She never expected this misfortune to arrive so soon. However, unexpectedly, She was reborn 10 years in the past. After seeing that the man before her was her husband, all of Kang Ji-won's resentment from before her death erupted. She immediately chased after her husband to beat him up. Just as her husband was about to retaliate, the minister reminded Kang Ji-won that this was the company, trying to bring her back to reality. Kang Ji-won had no idea what was going on. She didn't understand why she was here, and the scar on her arm was gone. Frantically, she rushed to the mirror to check her appearance. Seeing her former self, she recoiled in fear. I accidentally knocked over the hot water pot next to me. Luckily, the minister appeared in time and saved me. Then Kang Ji-won saw her best friend, Sumin, walk in. It instantly reminded her of what Sumin had said before she died. For revenge, she decided to let her best friend steal her rotten fate. She would do whatever it takes to get her best friend and her husband married. Kang Ji-won wasn't sure why she had time traveled back 10 years. She ran out of the company like crazy. The director followed her closely. Thus, he saved her again. The director told her to calm down, and she went to pick up his shoes. Kang Ji-won looked around, seeing everywhere was 2013. She looked at everything in disbelief. Then the director sent her home and left her some cash. She knew Kang Ji-won had fled in a panic just now without taking anything. Returning home, Kang Ji-won quickly opened the refrigerator. Seeing that all the dates on the food were from 2013, she was finally certain that she had truly returned to 10 years ago. Then the doorbell rang. Thoughtfully, the director had left some things for her outside the door. That night, after calming down, Kang Ji-won began to organize her thoughts. She wanted to confirm if she was dreaming. She knew very clearly that being killed by her husband in 2023 wasn't a dream, because Kang Ji-won knew Minister Yoo Ji-hyuk's true identity. He was the grandson of the founder of the UK group. Although nobody knows it now, the inheritance process would begin in a few years. In 2021, he would promoted to UK group representative director. Then she took out the cash Ji-hyuk had given her. Unexpectedly, inside was Kang Ji-won's the souvenir fare the taxi driver had given her. This bill had also somehow traveled through time, but there was suddenly a heart drawn on it. Seeing the heart, Kang Ji-won thought of her father. Because her father had drawn a heart on banknotes for her before he passed away, Kang Ji-won suddenly realized that the taxi driver was her father. Just as Kang Ji-won was feeling sad, she heard a door open. Park Min-hwan, her boyfriend at the time, walked in. He wanted to take Kang Ji-won out to dinner. Park Min-hwan took her out to find out why she had embarrassed him so much at the company that day. Even if she's pregnant, it's not certain the child is his, because they haven't slept together recently. This sentence reminded Kang Ji-won of, during that time, she had no appetite, so she thought she was pregnant. Actually, it was just stress-induced gastritis. Kang Ji-won suspected it was from this time that Park Min-hwan had been constantly putting pressure on her. And she's also involved with her best friend. Park Min-hwan thinks that if she has the baby, Kang Ji-won's career will be interrupted. And she probably wouldn't want to become a haggard housewife either, staying at home all day. So he told her to have an abortion. He'll pay half the expenses. And said she didn't want a child, thinking about her mother-in-law saying she couldn't have children. Kang Ji-won found her past self ridiculous. She told Park Min-hwan that she wasn't pregnant, it was just gastritis. Hearing this, Park Min-hwan's heart was relieved. But the next second, his expression changed drastically. Then Kang Ji-won directly proposed a breakup. After saying that, Kang Ji-won got up and left. Who knew Park Min-hwan would storm out angrily? He thought Kang Ji-won was pregnant, so he tried to understand why she had embarrassed him so much at the company today. But she wanted to break up. He was instantly furious and pushed Kang Ji-won against the wall. He questioned her about why she had been so angry with him. Kang Ji-won forgot that Park Min-hwan was a madman. Kang Ji-won forgot that Park Min-hwan was crazy. He didn't care if he died, but he couldn't bear to be the one to break up. Kang Ji-won collapsed onto the ground in fear. She could only scream for help. Afterwards, the two went to the police station. But the police thought it was just a lover's quarrel, and Kang Ji-won wasn't injured, so they took no action. Returning home, Kang Ji-won felt she couldn't go on like this. During this stage, before her rebirth, she had already developed a fear of Park Min-hwan. She did everything according to his wishes, and she had given him a lot of money. Now she only had 700,000 won. Running away with that money wouldn't last a month. Then Park Min-hwan sent a message apologizing. He said that once he made a fortune from stocks, he would buy Kang Ji-won a bag. The word stock instantly gave Kang Ji-won an idea of how to make money. She planned to use this soaring stock to overcome her difficulties. Although Kang Ji-won couldn't remember everything that happened since 2013, she knew very clearly what would be successful. To ensure she wouldn't get cancer again in this life, Kang Ji-won went to the hospital for a full body checkup. She learned it was only mild gastritis. Taking medicine diligently will lead to recovery. She was so excited she could hardly express herself. She must maintain her current health. Then she went to a bookstore. She looked at some books about stocks. Unexpectedly, she met the minister there. The minister saw the books in her hands. He thought she wanted to resign and invest in stocks. Kang Ji-won hurriedly explained. Then she saw the burn on the minister's arm. It was from yesterday's rescue. She felt very sorry. She hadn't thanked Kang Ji-won yesterday. The minister said that if she felt sorry, she should treat her to a meal. So the two went to a soup restaurant. Kang Ji-won thought about how she hadn't interacted with him before. So, Kang Ji-won really does have that rich boy vibe about him? And before, he always had this serious expression. Kang Ji-won was scared of him. Now, looking at him, he seems like a really nice person. When the director heard Kang Ji-won say she needed to make some changes, she suddenly asked if she was getting married. Kang Ji-won remembered that she did want to marry her boyfriend at the time, so she expressed that she was considering marriage. However, the minister's expression looked quite disheartened after hearing this. After dinner, Minister Kang Ji-won's shoulder scar was surprisingly identical to the scar on her shoulder in her past life. She found it very strange. She didn't understand what was going on. The next day, Kang Ji-won tried to avoid Park Min-hwan. She chose to take the stairs. Even when she sat down, she chose to ignore him. She continued buying the stock that was rising. Then her best friend, Sumin, suddenly appeared. Looking at Sumin with an innocent expression, she asked her what she did yesterday, and why she didn't reply to her messages. Kang Ji-won said she was engrossed in a story on a website yesterday. She lost track of time. A girl is in the terminal stages of cancer. She saw her husband and her best friend together. She said that her best friend was even worse than her husband. That statement is so ironic. Just as Kang Ji-won didn't know what to do, her section chief called her over. He was very dissatisfied with her project proposal. He thought her project proposal was a mess. But Kang Ji-won clearly remembers her rejected proposal, submitted unchanged by Sumin, was praised by the team leader as well done after its presentation, and was even implemented. She was successfully made a permanent employee because of this. After that, she steadily rose through the ranks. Kang Ji-won knows very well that the team leader is an unreasonable and incompetent scoundrel, who only got to his position by clinging to a higher-up. Later, Kang Ji-won ran into Yuran while printing documents. Because Yuran was the team leader's capable assistant, they hadn't had much interaction before. However, Kang Ji-won knew she was a very competent person. With her abilities, she was more than qualified to be a team leader. But because the team leader kept blocking her promotion, she remained a perpetual acting team leader until her resignation. Kang Ji-won was about to speak to her, but I was interrupted by someone looking for Julan. Julan left in a hurry, and didn't put her cup down properly. Half of it was hanging precariously in the air. Kang Ji-won remembered that in her past life, it was this cup that caused her to trip and injure her leg. So this time, she wanted to prevent the cup from falling. She thought she had successfully avoided it. This injury changed my fate, and after I got out, with the minister's help, I avoided the table. But I didn't expect that later, while evading Park Min-hwan, I still ended up getting injured, and in the same place. Kang Ji-won realized that although she could avoid it, could what's destined to happen still happen? So, would her future fate still be the same as her past life? But the scars on her arm were gone. She couldn't understand what was going on. Back in her seat, Kang Ji-won received a message. Park Min-hwan sold the rising stock to repay Kang Ji-won. He then bought another stock. He still fantasized about this stock skyrocketing. However, the reborn Kang Ji-won knew it was a pump-and-dump scheme. The company boss fled overseas after manipulating the stock market. Thinking about what happened these past 2 days, she bought that skyrocketing stock. Park Min-hwan then sold hers. Plus, the wound on the minister's arm. Kang Ji-won finally understood the inevitable investigation that would follow. So no matter who it happens to, it just needs to happen to her. So she asked her best friend to throw away the trash for her. She wanted to exchange her decaying fate for Soo-min's. Downstairs at the company building, Soo-min waited eagerly for Kang Ji-won to take the elevator with her. Just as the elevator doors were about to close, the department head suddenly walked in, and he kept staring at Kang Ji-won. Then the section chief started constantly criticizing Kang Ji-won's project proposal. Seeing this, Soo-min spoke up for Kang Ji-won. She said she was working very hard, but after saying that, she asked Kang Ji-won about the coffee, whether it was bought at the bus stop. The section chief rebuked her for buying coffee during work hours. The director got angry. The section chief immediately shut his mouth. As Kang Ji-won was about to get off the elevator, the director stopped her. He took Kang Ji-won to the top floor. Just let her drink her coffee. Kang Ji-won thought the director also thought she was lazy. So she explained that she hadn't had breakfast because she was out on a field assignment. And that's why she went to buy coffee. Unexpectedly, the director told her it's better to eat breakfast. He actually brought Kang Ji-won here because he was afraid she would feel embarrassed to drink it back at the office. So he wanted her to finish it here comfortably. Kang Ji-won thanked the director. She said she wasn't going to resign. Then she took out the lovingly drawn-on bill her father had given her. Ji Hyuk showed a surprised expression upon seeing the bill. As if he'd seen it before, Kang Ji-won said that every time her father gave her allowance money, he would draw a heart on it. Kang Ji-won also thanked the director for acknowledging her abilities. This gave her great strength. After listening, Ji Hyuk smiled for the first time in front of Kang Ji-won. He wanted to ask Kang Ji-won out for the weekend and asked if she was free. Hearing Kang Ji-won say no, he was about to speak when he was interrupted by the arriving Soo-min, who claimed that Kang Ji-won had already made plans with her to eat barbecue at Guseo Pavilion. Hearing this name, Ji Hyuk left thoughtfully. He returned to the office. He looked at Kang Ji-won's file. He then called Guseo Pavilion. He inquired about their weekend group reservations. It was Kang Ji-won's high school reunion. He then asked a friend to find someone for him. At that moment, Kang Ji-won entered with pain relievers. She was worried about the director's arm injury, but the minister divided the medicine in half, because Kang Ji-won's leg was also injured. He let her take care of herself first. Seeing this, Park Min-hwan pulled Kang Ji-won to the warehouse, and questioned her if it was because of you, Ji Hyuk, the minister, that she wanted to break up with him. He said, "Don't think that just because you Ji Hyuk is young and became a minister, he has some kind of background. Men should still be judged by their appearance and intelligence." Kang Ji-won thought about having to pretend to be happy with him and Soo-min. She could only force herself to act sweetly and ingratiatingly towards Park Min-hwan. She said that the reason she broke up with him was that it felt like things between them weren't the same as before. Kang Ji-won hoped that he was the kind of boyfriend others would want to snatch away. Park Min-hwan was overjoyed after hearing this. Kang Ji-won reconciled with him. Unexpectedly, Park Min-hwan tried to kiss her. Seeing she couldn't stop him, Kang Ji-won prepared to knock him unconscious. But Yuran appeared just in time. She rescued her. Yuran saw the problem between them. She felt that even couples shouldn't force intimacy on each other. Then it was lunchtime. Park Min-hwan asked Kang Ji-won what she wanted to eat. She hadn't answered yet. Soo-min said she wanted to eat curry. So Kang Ji-won told Park Min-hwan to take Soo-min to eat curry. She said she was a little broke lately, so she would eat spicy pork at the staff cafeteria. Unexpectedly, although Soo-min was unhappy inside, she said she would eat whatever Kang Ji-won ate. Then the three of them went to the restaurant together. Watching Soo-min serve the dishes, Kang Ji-won remembered how Soo-min had embarrassed her in her past life, because she would use underhanded tactics whenever things didn't go her way. Back then, Kang Ji-won was following behind her, but she pretended to look for a seat and deliberately bumped into Kang Ji-won. She even deliberately poured the food from her plate onto Kang Ji-won's face. The reason Kang Ji-won endured it back then, it's because Soo-min is her only friend. And in this life, Kang Ji-won will also make this happen. It will just happen to Park Min-hwan. Then Kang Ji-won pretends to care and asks Park Min-hwan if he's hurt. She deliberately points out that the shirt is his favorite. It's completely ruined now. Soo-min hears this and sees that the shirt is a designer brand. She's too shocked to speak. Kang Ji-won used the opportunity to get napkins and left. Arriving at the restroom, Kang Ji-won heard a cry for help from one of the stalls. The person inside asked Kang Ji-won for help. Kang Ji-won instantly understood what the other person needed. She told the person to wait a moment. The woman's name was Yoo Hee-yeon. She was Kang Ji-won's colleague. She expressed her deepest gratitude to Kang Ji-won. Kang Ji-won told him not to move. She thoughtfully got him a coat. Yoo Hee-yeon instantly became her fangirl. She thought Kang Ji-won was truly the one and only good person in the world. Kang Ji-won thought her words were too exaggerated, laughing until she cried. Yoo Hee-yeon didn't think it was exaggerated at all, because someone else came in earlier. She pleaded bitterly, but the other person just kept muttering, completely unmoved. She left after washing her hands. Kang Ji-won immediately understood that the person was Lee Soo-min. Then Yoo Hee-yeon came to eat with Kang Ji-won. Kang Ji-won knew that Park Min-hwan was because he must be furious that his shirt is ruined, because he begged Kang Ji-won for a year to get it. Soo-min felt apologetic and said she would compensate him. At this time, Yoo Hee-yeon recognized the shirt. Hearing the high price of the shirt, Soo-min coquettishly told Park Min-hwan that she was just a contract worker and didn't have that much money. Park Min-hwan directly said it didn't matter. Watching the two of them flatter each other, Yoo Hee-yeon and Kang Ji-won both showed speechless expressions. Then Min-hwan praised Kang Ji-won for making a good friend. This sentence almost choked Kang Ji-won. She was about to pour Kang Ji-won a glass of water. At this time, Soo-min asked her to pour one for herself as well. Unexpectedly, Yoo Hee-yeon said, "Why?" Yoo Hee-yeon had already realized that Soo-min was the person who didn't help her earlier, so she didn't give her a good face. Soo-min angrily said that, "How dare that young woman act like that?" Kang Ji-won warned her that this is a company. Although Yoo Hee-yeon is younger than her, their job ranks are the same. Realizing she had inadvertently spoken her mind, Kang Ji-won hurriedly explained that she would remind her. "Then I'll have Park Min-hwan stay and finish eating with Soo-min before going upstairs. She went back first. So I left chatting and laughing with Yoo Hee-yeon." Later, while Soo-min and Park Min-hwan were waiting for the elevator, Soo-min complained that Kang Ji-won might be angry because of the shirt. Park Min-hwan quickly reassured her that it was all right, and said that Kang Ji-won cared about her a lot. The elevator arrived then. They were instantly pushed to the back of the crowd. A warm, ambiguous atmosphere spread between them. Soo-min intentionally teased Park Min-hwan. Meanwhile, Ji Hyuk arrived at a restaurant. He found the restaurant's head chef, Baek Eun-ho. This person and Kang Ji-won attended the same high school. It's unclear why Ji Hyuk is looking for him. At the same time, Kang Ji-won gave the proposal that the team leader had rejected to Yeon. Hoping she would take a close look at it, Soo-min happened to see this. When Yeon passed by her, she saw the contents of the proposal. Like a past life, she set her sights on this proposal. Then, Soo-min pretended to run into the section chief. She expressed her strong desire to be made permanent, but there was one point she couldn't quite figure out. So she wanted the section chief to help her. The section chief was naturally very happy too. Yoo Hee-yeon wanted to treat Kang Ji-won to a weekend meal to thank her, but Kang Ji-won said she already had a weekend engagement. She knew Soo-min had invited him to eat barbecue. It's actually because of the class reunion, so she doesn't really want to go. Yoo Hee-yeon thought that since it's a class reunion, Kang Ji-won should definitely go. She might even run into her first love. However, Kang Ji-won has no idea where her first love is. Besides, she wasn't very popular at school. So is there any need to go back and revisit her unpleasant past? Yoo Hee-yeon thinks that's precisely why she should go. Kang Ji-won hesitated about whether to go. She met the director on her way back. She asked him if she could work overtime if something urgent came up on the weekend, but the director told her to go. He also told her that although she hesitated, the answer would be different each time, but this time, Kang Ji-won should give it a try. And he reminded Kang Ji-won that she owed him a favor. It seems he must have done something for Kang Ji-won. Meanwhile, Duran finished reviewing Kang Ji-won's proposal. She thought it was very good. She wondered why the section chief rejected it. Then Kang Ji-won suggested working on the case together, and said the section chief hadn't even looked at the proposal. He pretended to read it, but didn't actually read a single word. And this wasn't the first time. All the reports they submitted, the section chief just went through the motions. His eyes were constantly looking elsewhere. Julon found this impossible. To make Julon believe her, she decided to resubmit the proposal that the section chief had rejected, unchanged, the very next day, until she was certain the section chief hadn't looked at it. They collaborated on the case. Actually, Kang Ji-won wasn't entirely confident, but she decided to gamble. So she only changed the color of the proposal, but she submitted the content unchanged. Yuron watched the team leader's reaction closely, and Kang Ji-won's gamble paid off. Everyone was whispering. The section chief really wasn't doing any work. So Kang Ji-won and Yuron successfully collaborated. Yoo Hee-yeon also joined their celebration. However, while they were immersed in joy, Soo-min came to Kang Ji-won's workstation and looked over the proposal. After secretly looking at Kang Ji-won's proposal, Soo-min called the section chief out. She said that Kang Ji-won's proposal, although it looked good on the surface, was actually quite bad. But the idea was actually quite good. She wanted the team leader to get it and develop it with her. She thought if Kang Ji-won did it, it would definitely fail. But if the team leader used his experience to guide it properly, it would definitely be a huge success. And she would also get her desired permanent position. Then she expressed her willingness to chat and discuss work with the team leader. This sentence made the team leader already imagine their children's birth. That oppa completely captivated him. Meanwhile, Park Min-hwan was complaining to his friend about Soo-min. Why it had to be Kang Ji-won's best friend. It prevented him from having any ulterior motives. He also asked his friend if he knew any good girls. His friend asked him why he didn't just go for his girlfriend. Park Min-hwan told him that Kang Ji-won was just for marriage, because she's kind-hearted, thrifty, and manages the household well. She can also make money and doesn't spend it frivolously. And her parents are also gone. For him, she's the perfect wife. But she's incredibly boring. At this moment, Kang Ji-won is recalling the things that have made her happy since her rebirth. Although they weren't big things, but she still felt good about making both her best friend and the section chief eat it. She felt quite relieved. Returning to her seat, Kang Ji-won saw the earrings Soo-min had given her. Soo-min told her to wear them on her weekend date. Kang Ji-won immediately thought of her past life. She had worn these earrings when she appeared at the Gozio Pavilion. She thought it was a date with just Soo-min. I didn't expect it to be a high school reunion. She anxiously tried to leave, but was stopped by Soo-min. With no choice, Kang Ji-won hid in the restroom. Then she heard her former classmates discussing her outside. It was nothing but harsh words, because they had often bullied Kang Ji-won in high school. Then Kang Ji-won learned from them that the earrings Soo-min gave her were a fake. They thought Kang Ji-won was imitating Soo-min. Just as the girls were about to continue their hurtful words, another girl suddenly realized Kang Ji-won wasn't in her seat. She gestured that Kang Ji-won might be in the restroom. Ultimately, Kang Ji-won, who was hiding, was found by them. Thinking about this, Kang Ji-won decided she would absolutely never go back. At that moment, she received messages from both Soo-min and Park Min-hwan. Both of them wanted to go to her house. It'll be about an hour. Kang Ji-won suddenly remembered a scene she'd seen in her past life. It's going to happen anyway. So let it happen today. As she was leaving, she ran into Ji Hyuk. And Ji Hyuk, seeing her handbag, knew the earrings were inside. He also reminded Kang Ji-won that they were counterfeit. He didn't see it, so how would he know? However, Kang Ji-won didn't think much of it. She only recalled Ji Hyuk from her past life seeing her wearing these earrings and immediately saying they were counterfeit, telling her it was better not to wear them. But at the time, Kang Ji-won didn't know she would suffer such humiliation at the reunion. And it was a gift from her best friend. So she thought the minister's words were very rude. Ji Hyuk wanted to drive her home, but Kang Ji-won refused. She said she would take the bus and arrive soon. But Kang Ji-won remembered she had other things to do, so she refused again. After leaving the company, Kang Ji-won went straight to the supermarket and bought a bottle of whiskey. She planned to get Park Min-hwan drunk. Then she would text Soo-min to come quickly. However, because she only sent 2 words, without even an emoji, Soo-min felt she was too cold, so she decided not to go. Meanwhile, Kang Ji-won, returning home, didn't expect Park Min-hwan to be back already. He was showering at that moment. After putting away the whiskey, she learned that Soo-min wasn't coming. She hadn't anticipated this situation. She wanted to leave immediately, but it was too late. Kang Ji-won was blocked in the room by Park Min-hwan. Seeing Park Min-hwan's impatient demeanor, Kang Ji-won felt like she was about to collapse. Just as Kang Ji-won didn't know what to do, the doorbell suddenly rang. Kang Ji-won, as if seeing a savior, rushed over and opened the door frantically. A delivery guy arrived with fried chicken, but neither Kang Ji-won nor Park Min-hwan had ordered any. However, the delivery guy insisted it was their order. Park Min-hwan's anger still burned fiercely, so he urged the delivery guy to leave quickly. Seizing the opportunity, Kang Ji-won shoved him out. Then she closed the door. Then she texted Park Min-hwan. His attitude today left her completely bewildered. She needed some time to think carefully about their relationship. Park Min-hwan wondered if Kang Ji-won was possessed. She wasn't like her usual self at all. Park Min-hwan picked up his shoes and went back to the door. He apologized to Kang Ji-won for his behavior today. He didn't think getting Kang Ji-won would be easy. He loved Kang Ji-won's inner self more. Then he left, feigning nonchalance. In reality, he was furious inside. The delivery guy was sent by Ji Hyuk. If Park Min-hwan didn't come out, he planned to go up again. For some reason, Ji Hyuk seemed to. He knew everything that was going to happen. He had previously contacted Baek Eun-ho to inform him about a high school reunion. He asked if he could attend on Sunday. Baek Eun-ho found it strange, because the man was clearly not his classmate. How could he know about the reunion? Baek Eun-ho had been heartbroken after being rejected by his first love years ago. So even high school classmates are unwilling to remember. After that, she didn't want to date anymore. She even kept wearing a fake ring. Therefore, he was also hesitating whether to go. After Park Min-hwan left, Kang Ji-won's hanging heart finally settled down. So she started choosing the clothes to wear to the class reunion. But her clothes were all too plain. She couldn't find anything to wear. And the cosmetics looked even worse. Then, Soo-min sent a message reminding her not to forget their date on Sunday. She joked that she was having a very hard day, and would definitely make Kang Ji-won pay for it. However, Kang Ji-won knew very well what kind of humiliation she would face then. While she was worrying, Yoo Hee-yeon knew she had a date on Sunday. So she asked her out for dinner the next day. The next day, Kang Ji-won watched her stock investments soar, the balance steadily increasing. She was in a great mood. While passing a luxury boutique, she accidentally saw the earrings Soo-min had given her. Kang Ji-won took them out and compared them. The difference between Kang Ji-won and her is even greater than she imagined. No wonder the director told her not to bring her. Kang Ji-won remembered how Soo-min always made her carry counterfeit goods back then, and praised how beautiful they were. Even when she was on a date with her boyfriend, Soo-min was always there, and made her carry everything. It felt like Soo-min and Park Min-hwan were on a date, and Kang Ji-won was just their follower. Kang Ji-won, lost in her memories, was startled by the sudden appearance of Yoo Hee-yeon. Her earring fell to the ground. She told Yoo Hee-yeon that it was a gift from Soo-min. Yoo Hee-yeon immediately recognized that the earring was fake, because the luster was different. The one in her ear was the real one. Later, while they were eating, Kang Ji-won hasn't decided yet whether to attend the class reunion tomorrow. She told Yoo Hee-yeon about being bullied at school. She doesn't know why her classmates suddenly disliked her, so she became timid and withdrawn afterwards. Yoo Hee-yeon thinks she should ask them why they did that. How can she know what others are thinking if she doesn't ask? In her past life, she didn't ask because she was timid, but to turn a shameful past into a glorious history is easier said than done. But Kang Ji-won doesn't think it's something that can be changed overnight. Unexpectedly, Yoo Hee-yeon reassured her, and she can finally repay her kindness. On the other hand, Park Min-hwan went out to play with his friends, and they saw him staring at his phone constantly. They asked him if his girlfriend wasn't answering her phone. Park Min-hwan stubbornly said he wouldn't call Kang Ji-won. True masters don't bother. But his phone showed countless missed calls to Kang Ji-won, none of which were answered. Kang Ji-won woke up suddenly from a dream of her past life being murdered. Seeing her new self, she was grateful to Yoo Hee-yeon. The team leader just texted. He'll reconsider Kang Ji-won's proposal, but he wants Duran and Soo-min to join, under the guise of supplementing her shortcomings. Then Soo-min called her. She learned that she spent the day with Yoo Hee-yeon, and Yoo Hee-yeon even slept at her place. Soo-min instantly showed her displeasure. He questioned her about why she didn't contact him. Then he said he wanted to ask Kang Ji-won a favor. He wanted Kang Ji-won to give him the project proposal. But Kang Ji-won wasn't falling for it anymore. She also said that it wasn't appropriate for Soo-min to call her by her first name at work. After all, their job ranks were different. And she expressed her dissatisfaction with Soo-min's bossy attitude. She told her to keep her personal and professional lives separate at work from now on. After saying that, Kang Ji-won hung up the phone directly. Soo-min didn't expect the meek Kang Ji-won to defy her. After Kang Ji-won returned, he lied to the section chief, saying he had called his mother. Then he said that if he could have a reliable man like the section chief, it would be great. This sentence made the section chief think of his future happy life again. Lost in his fantasy, he directly approved the proposal. After crossing out Kang Ji-won's name, she gave it to Soo-min. Before going to the class reunion, Soo-min texted Kang Ji-won again, reminding her to definitely bring the earrings she gave her. As soon as Soo-min entered, she was enthusiastically welcomed by her classmates. They all complimented her on how beautiful she had become. The male classmates said that since she joined a big company, she felt like a capable urban woman. Soo-min humbly said she was just lucky. At this point, he deliberately mentioned that Kang Ji-won had helped him a lot. Upon hearing this, the female classmate, Rue Ji, instantly angrily asked Soo-min, "Why are you still hanging out with her? Isn't she always pathetically relying on you?" Soo-min said that Kang Ji-won is just simple. She'll be here soon. I hope you all can be nicer to her, because she hasn't been in a good mood lately. Soo-min inadvertently reveals that she recommended Kang Ji-won for a temporary position at UK Group. She seems to have developed feelings for Agent Park Min-hwan. At this moment, Kang Ji-won calls to ask where she is. Soo-min prepares to go out and let her in, only to hear Kang Ji-won say she's already arrived. She's right behind her. At this moment, the students all looked at Kang Ji-won in shock. Kang Ji-won appeared here, elegant and beautiful. It turned out that earlier, Yoo Hee-yeon had taken Kang Ji-won to a beauty salon. She hired professional makeup artists and stylists. The stylist thought that a sudden change that drastic would be mistaken for reincarnation. However, Kang Ji-won wanted to be reborn. She had her long hair cut into a sharp, short style, and applied exquisite makeup. After finishing the preparations, Kang Ji-won looked at herself in the mirror, and thought of her sickly appearance in her past life. Tears welled up in her eyes. She never thought she could become like this. Next was the costume change. Yoo Hee-yeon selected various clothes for her. The classmates were all stunned by Kang Ji-won's appearance. The boys especially exclaimed that the former ugly duckling had become so beautiful. However, Rue Ji laughed at her for wearing the same earrings as Soo-min. Soo-min deliberately showed off her earrings. Soo-min wanted to make fun of Kang Ji-won, but it turned out she became the laughingstock. The boys said Kang Ji-won's looked more high-end, so I asked Soo-min if she bought a counterfeit. She didn't know Yoo Hee-yeon had finished Kang Ji-won's makeup that morning. So I explained to her that counterfeit products are also divided into many types. Soo-min wanted to highlight that Kang Ji-won was copying her. So compared to Kang Ji-won's, hers should be more like the genuine article. Then Kang Ji-won came to the restroom under the pretense of, like a past life. She was waiting in a cubicle for the 3 girls who had been bullying him. Soon, Rue Ji and the others came in. They continued to talk badly about Kang Ji-won. Suddenly, they sensed that Kang Ji-won was in the cubicles. So they started searching, cubicle by cubicle. But this time, Kang Ji-won was ready to fight back. She kicked open the restroom door. Rue Ji intended to teach Kang Ji-won a lesson. Instead, I was pinned down by Kang Ji-won's kick. But I still pretended to be calm and said, "Since Kang Ji-won is here, why pretend she's not?" Kang Ji-won said she came in first, and told us not to mind her. She told us to continue what we were saying. She was also curious about what happened to Soo-min since high school. My female classmate said that since high school, Kang Ji-won has wanted everything that Soo-min has. And she's always been imitating Soo-min. Even the earrings she's wearing now, aren't they a copy of Soo-min's? Unexpectedly, Kang Ji-won took out a fake gift Soo-min had given her. The 3 of them were speechless for a moment. But then Yi-ji said that Kang Ji-won was greedy. Soo-min's ambiguous relationship with Park Min-hwan. Another girl even mentioned that Soo-min and Baek Eun-ho dated in high school. Kang Ji-won was also the one who told them to break up. But Kang Ji-won never knew they were dating. So how could she have told them to break up? And Park Min-hwan even became Soo-min's ambiguous relationship. Kang Ji-won couldn't stand it anymore. She directly handed over her business card. She's an agent for the UK group. She's been employed for 7 years. While Soo-min was recommended by her last year. One of the girls knew Soo-min. Confirmed that she did join the UK group last year. Next is the ambiguous object of affection, Park Min-hwan. Kang Ji-won directly called him. Kang Ji-won introduced Park Min-hwan to the three of them. They persistently asked him if he was Kang Ji-won's boyfriend. The three of them were speechless upon learning the truth. Kang Ji-won finally realized that everything she suffered in her past life was because of Soo-min. As she was about to leave, Soo-min innocently asked her where she was going. Then, Yi-ji suddenly chased after her, still clinging to Kang Ji-won, questioning her about how she could, because of her liking Baek-eun-ho, make her break up with Soo-min. Kang Ji-won was also bullied by them because of this. Soo-min then pretended to be tough and tried to dissuade her classmates from doing this. Soo-min instantly became nervous and didn't know what to say. Seeing everyone staring at her, she could only grit her teeth and say that she knew at the time that Kang Ji-won liked Baek-eun-ho. So she didn't tell him that they were dating. Since Kang Ji-won didn't know, why should she break up with Baek-eun-ho? So Soo-min could only say she was mistaken. The female classmate accused Kang Ji-won of being too petty. It's because of her bad temper that she has no friends. Even when she presented her business card to clarify, they only said she had a bad temper. Because of one sentence from Soo-min, she suffered bullying for 3 whole years. Now, at a long overdue class reunion, they're still trying to humiliate her. Kang Ji-won knew the other party wouldn't apologize, because they just wanted to bully her. Rue-ji persistently said, Soo-min said she's dating Baek-eun-ho. Kang Ji-won isn't involved. Why would she say it's not true? However, unexpectedly, Baek-eun-ho appeared at the class reunion at Ji-hyuk's request. He directly stated that he wasn't dating Soo-min, because Ji-hyuk mentioned Kang Ji-won to him. I hope he goes to the class reunion and clears up the misunderstanding he had with Kang Ji-won in high school. Baek-eun-ho's appearance completely exposed young Soo-min's lies. Ji-hyuk told his grandfather that he already has a woman he likes. He's going to break off the engagement his grandfather arranged for him. His grandfather flew into a rage after hearing this. He demanded to know who the girl was, but Ji-hyuk said it was unrequited love. He has been doing things according to his grandfather's wishes since he was born. So this time, he hopes his grandfather will believe him. But after he left, his grandfather sent people to find out who the girl Ji-hyuk likes is. He thinks that any inappropriate budding feelings should be nipped in the bud. He believes that any inappropriate budding feelings should be eliminated early. At the class reunion, Baek-eun-ho ignored everyone and kept staring at Kang Ji-won. He joyfully asked Kang Ji-won if she had ever liked him. Hearing this, Kang Ji-won fled in a panic. Ji-hyuk, who was waiting outside, happened to see Kang Ji-won coming out. He didn't expect Kang Ji-won to be wearing such a beautiful outfit to attend the class reunion. At this time, Baek-eun-ho also chased out and stopped Kang Ji-won. Kang Ji-won told him that she had never liked him. It was just a slip of the tongue. Unexpectedly, Baek-eun-ho suddenly confessed his feelings to her loudly. He had liked Kang Ji-won since high school. And Soo-min's retribution finally arrived. The classmates had already learned from Kang Ji-won that Soo-min was the one who was hired temporarily, and that she was recommended by Kang Ji-won. Soo-min still tried to continue the deception, saying that she was also an employee of the UK group. It's just that Kang Ji-won got promoted faster. Then, Rue, who had been protecting her, was the first to attack her. She questioned her way of life. Then the girl next to her questioned her. Since she was introduced to the company by an acquaintance, she pretended to teach her interview skills. Soo-min was speechless. Then, Rue-ji questioned her further, asking why she lied about dating Baek-eun-ho. Soo-min couldn't understand why Baek-eun-ho, who she'd lost contact with, would suddenly appear at the reunion. To hide her panic, she said it was all something from her childhood, and asked everyone to stop bringing it up. The classmates now realized that Soo-min had been framing Kang Ji-won all along, because she kept telling everyone that Kang Ji-won was after her man. She copied her style and wanted everything she had. Soo-min couldn't defend herself, so she counterattacked them. Soo-min, emotionally distraught, still felt she was right. She believed the fault lay entirely with Yi Ji and the others. She wanted to contact Kang Ji-won, but her calls kept going unanswered. After she calmed down, but Kang Ji-won's classmates left without a word. At the same time, the sudden confession left Kang Ji-won at a loss. At that moment, Ji Hyuk called her from a distance. He asked Kang Ji-won for help under the pretext of work, rescuing her from the awkward situation. Before leaving, Baek Eun-ho mustered his courage and asked Kang Ji-won for her phone number. Kang Ji-won just left. Baek Eun-ho saw Ji Hyuk in the distance. He instantly understood that Ji Hyuk also liked Kang Ji-won. Then Kang Ji-won arrived at their meeting place, and Ji Hyuk was already waiting for her there. Kang Ji-won was certain this hadn't happened in her past life. She wondered why she was interacting with the director in this life. Ji Hyuk told her, right now, the Winner Project is holding a presentation. They propose shifting a portion of the group's marketing budget to online marketing. Therefore, the advertising strategy will change significantly. This is a bold proposal. However, the group's mindset is conservative. Many believe it's premature. And what Kang Ji-won needs to do? It's about supporting Ji Hyuk. As soon as Kang Ji-won came in, she saw the promotion for NER TV. She knew this would be a platform used by all ages within 10 years. Kang Ji-won thought the director seized a really good opportunity. Then, someone with a different opinion appeared. Ji Hyuk introduced Kang Ji-won to director Wang. Kang Ji-won instantly thought of this person. He was later known as a notorious bully, because in his past life, a video of him assaulting a flight attendant on a plane was spread online, causing quite a stir. Director Wang's eyes lit up when he saw Kang Ji-won. He wanted to take advantage of her, but Ji Hyuk stopped him. So, working with such beautiful employees is motivating. This sentence reminded Kang Ji-won of, the team leader's backer is Director Wang. Birds of a feather flock together. After reviewing the promotional materials, Director Wang, dissatisfied, lashed out at his subordinates. He thought the website was completely useless. This statement shocked everyone. Kang Ji-won didn't want the minister and Director Wang to clash directly. So she quickly explained that the website might recommend provocative content initially to attract users. That's why it would recommend more sensational content at first. After a while, it would recommend content based on the user's interests. Unexpectedly, Director Wang wasn't receptive at all. He even told Kang Ji-won to shut up and just be a pretty face. However, Ji Hyuk showed his support for Kang Ji-won. Director Wang immediately shut his mouth, but he took his anger out on others. Meanwhile, Park Min-hwan, who failed to pick up any girls at the camping trip, was venting his frustrations. His friend mocked him, saying he couldn't even get a girlfriend, yet he wanted to get others, and said, doesn't he have another woman, referring to his girlfriend. But Park Min-hwan confidently believed that Kang Ji-won definitely didn't have that kind of ability. She didn't know that two eligible men were already around Kang Ji-won. Ji Hyuk felt sorry for asking Kang Ji-won to work on the weekend, and for making her hear those unpleasant words. Kang Ji-won didn't expect the director to apologize for such a small matter, but the person who truly wronged her didn't feel sorry for her at all. Just as she was about to reach her doorstep, Park Min-hwan appeared here. Seeing him, Kang Ji-won quickly reclined her seat, but she heard Ji Hyuk say that they shouldn't be visible from outside the car. Kang Ji-won had just sat up when she saw Soo-min waiting for her at the door. She instinctively lay back down again. She even covered her face with her clothes. It seems Kang Ji-won can't go home for now. While Soo-min waited anxiously for Kang Ji-won, she was met by Park Min-hwan instead. Soo-min started crying sadly as soon as she saw him. Then the two of them went to Kang Ji-won's front door. Park Min-hwan tried the code several times but couldn't open the door. Kang Ji-won had finally changed the password. Immediately, he called Kang Ji-won, but there was no answer. Seeing Soo-min's pitiful appearance, he immediately, with ulterior motives, wanted to take her to eat something. Then the two of them went to a small restaurant. Soo-min distorted the facts about the class reunion. She also played the victim, saying she was afraid Kang Ji-won would misunderstand. She felt that Kang Ji-won had changed lately. Park Min-hwan told her not to worry. Kang Ji-won is probably just busy with work lately. Besides, everyone knows how close she and Kang Ji-won are. Park Min-hwan's comfort instantly cheered Soo-min up. After the rice cake incident, both of their hearts beat faster. The next day, A completely renewed Kang Ji-won walked into the company, drawing surprised glances from her colleagues. They jokingly said they thought a celebrity had come to the company. Park Min-hwan completely ignored Soo-min, hurrying to Kang Ji-won's side. He couldn't believe how beautiful his girlfriend had become. At this time, Ji-hyuk arrived at the company and was captivated by Kang Ji-won's appearance. He composed himself and then went to Kang Ji-won. Ji-hyuk thought her outfit wasn't quite suitable for work today. Before Kang Ji-won could explain, Yoo Hee-yeon spoke up, asking him why it wasn't suitable for work. Ji-hyuk said it was probably because he'd never seen her without her glasses. I didn't expect Kang Ji-won to say he'd seen me. Ji-hyuk explained it might be because yesterday was the weekend. He said it was the first time he saw me at the company today, so it felt different. Kang Ji-won also mentioned that Ji-hyuk was wearing contact lenses. Last night, an unexpected visitor came to Kang Ji-won's doorstep. Unable to go home, she went to the riverbank with Ji-hyuk. Regarding her seeing Park Min-hwan's strange behavior earlier, the director must have many questions in his mind. But it's her private life, so Kang Ji-won doesn't want to explain too much. Ji-hyuk didn't say much. As long as the decisions Kang Ji-won is making are good for her. Kang Ji-won has always been accommodating others in her past life. She never knew what she wanted to do. Kang Ji-won voiced her thoughts during this time. She wrote a proposal about instant cooking pouches. Ji-hyuk heard that and told her to finish writing and show it to him. He looked forward to it. Kang Ji-won also wanted to do interior design. She also wanted to learn some self-defense techniques. When Ji-hyuk heard this, he said he could teach her. Unexpectedly, Kang Ji-won couldn't help but laugh, because she thought self-defense techniques and the image of a minister were too far apart. Then he suggested that wearing contact lenses might be better. Afterwards, Ji-hyuk took Kang Ji-won home. Before leaving, Ji-hyuk solemnly told Kang Ji-won that he thought it was still important to date around and meet more people before getting married. However, Kang Ji-won misunderstood his meaning, thinking he was a very open-minded person. He actually wanted to remind Kang Ji-won not to marry Park Min-hwan, but he didn't know how to say it. He could only awkwardly smile, and Kang Ji-won was amused by his expression. Returning home, Kang Ji-won saw a gift left for her by Yoo Hee-yeon. She had prepared interior design plans for Kang Ji-won. These were meticulously designed by her during the day. She suggested that if Kang Ji-won liked them, to do everything, we need to move. Kang Ji-won thought it was indeed a good idea. At this time, Soo-min called. Kang Ji-won didn't answer. Immediately afterwards, he received her message. She was still feigning innocence, saying she didn't know why her classmates would act that way. Kang Ji-won didn't want to talk to her much. He just asked her to meet tomorrow to talk. Then Park Min-hwan called, but when she answered, it was Soo-min's voice. Kang Ji-won hung up immediately. Then she texted Park Min-hwan. She told him to take good care of Soo-min. She was happy they were together. The phone rang again. Kang Ji-won's mood suddenly brightened, because this call is from Baek Eun-ho. Kang Ji-won found her first phone call with her first love strange, because in high school, Baek Eun-ho, for some reason, suddenly told Kang Ji-won not to talk to him. Baek Eun-ho also remembered the scene back then, because he confessed his feelings to Kang Ji-won in a letter back then. But Kang Ji-won wrote back and harshly rejected him. That's why he did that. He still keeps that letter. Kang Ji-won understood immediately after hearing it. It must be Soo-min's doing again. The next day, Kang Ji-won, who was meticulously dressed, received compliments from her colleagues. They all praised Park Min-hwan's good taste, saying he got a great beauty like Kang Ji-won. They told him to guard her well. Many people at the company are discussing Kang Ji-won today. Park Min-hwan confidently believes that Kang Ji-won only has eyes for him. But he instantly remembers Kang Ji-won meeting with the director over the weekend. So he quickly calls Kang Ji-won out. He asks about their meeting. Kang Ji-won says it was about an urgent work matter. But Park Min-hwan thinks he's using work as an excuse to see Kang Ji-won. He's actually interested in Kang Ji-won. Park Min-hwan thinks this is his male intuition. And the director commented on her outfit this morning. It must be because Kang Ji-won is dressed too beautifully today. Seeing his girlfriend so beautiful, Park Min-hwan couldn't help but make a move. Just as he was about to kiss her, he was splashed with water by Kang Ji-won. On her way back, Kang Ji-won met Soo-min, who was looking for her. Soo-min thought Kang Ji-won misunderstood her. She blamed everything on Rue Ji and her group. If she didn't know her own ending, Kang Ji-won would definitely still be fooled by her act. But to let her and Park Min-hwan be together, she needs to maintain a good relationship with Xiaomin now. So she said she acted that way yesterday because she was angry. But after calming down, she thinks Xiaomin had no reason to lie. Then Kang Ji-won told her that she was going to meet Eun-ho. She was going to ask him about the truth of what happened back then. She wanted to get to the bottom of what really happened years ago. Hearing that the two were going to meet, Soo-min was immediately panicked. She immediately tried to stop them from meeting. She deliberately said that Kang Ji-won was meeting another man. Wouldn't Park Min-hwan mind? Kang Ji-won seized the opportunity to say that Park Min-hwan isn't that kind of person. And his stocks have surged recently. He's made a lot of money. He's planning to buy a new house for the two of them. She hopes that after hearing this, Soo-min will quickly make a move on Park Min-hwan. Soo-min called Ji-won's name when leaving work, to get closer to her. She saw that Kang Ji-won ignored her, so he quickly changed his words. Ji-hyuk ran over just as the elevator doors were about to close. Seeing the crowd, he initially wanted to wait for the next one. But after seeing Kang Ji-won, he squeezed in regardless. Exiting the elevator, Ji-hyuk waited for Kang Ji-won to come out and stopped her. He was still fixated on Kang Ji-won's outfit that day, because he had put on contact lenses for Kang Ji-won. So Kang Ji-won suddenly dressed so beautifully. Ji-hyuk thought she was trying to please her boyfriend, but Kang Ji-won told him she did it simply because she was in a good mood. Hearing this, Ji-hyuk laughed. Seeing him laugh, Kang Ji-won hoped he would always be cheerful. If he were to be more in his clothing style, it would be even better to make some changes. Ji-hyuk thought that he shouldn't be limited to just one form. So he made a phone call for help. Afterwards, Kang Ji-won, after seeing a client and waiting for the bus, suddenly saw Yoo Hyun happily spinning in circles in front of a shop. Kang Ji-won looked at Yoo Hyun and unconsciously smiled. But just as he was about to greet Yoo Hyun, Ji-hyuk appeared. It's clear that he and Yoo Hyun were very close. She left after that. Arriving home, Kang Ji-won suddenly remembered a past rumor about the two of them at her previous company. At the time, the section chief claimed they had an improper relationship. Yoo Hyun was even transferred. She then understood why she had become acquainted with the department head. It was because she had become close with Yoo Hyun. Kang Ji-won thought they were a couple. Little did she know they were siblings. However, their personalities differed greatly, making it hard for outsiders to tell. Besides, they never revealed their true relationship at the company. Meanwhile, Yoo Hyun happily told her grandfather that her brother bought her the limited edition she wanted. After Ji-hyuk sent his sister home, he still invited the fried chicken delivery guy out to practice self-defense at 2 a.m. The fried chicken delivery guy was thoroughly beaten. After returning home and showering, Ji-hyuk looked at the heart-shaped pattern on his chest. He remembered Kang Ji-won saying that her father would draw a heart every time he gave her allowance. Ji-hyuk wasn't sure what was going on. He actually wanted to tell Kang Ji-won everything, but he couldn't bring himself to say it, because he couldn't explain that he was experiencing a second life. However, he didn't know that the current Kang Ji-won was also reborn. In his past life, Ji-hyuk was attending Kang Ji-won's funeral when the police suddenly appeared. On suspicion of murdering Kang Ji-won, Park Min-hwan and Jong Soo-min were arrested. Park Min-hwan was still arguing it was an accident. Kang Ji-won was actually murdered by them together. And what happened at the class reunion 10 years ago? After hearing about Kang Ji-won's tragic life that day, he felt incredibly regretful about everything he had done before. But now it's too late to undo anything. Heartbroken, while driving, he unfortunately had a car accident trying to avoid an orange cat. When he woke up again, he was 10 years in the past. At Kang Ji-won's funeral, Ji-hyuk deeply regretted everything crazy he had done. Because if he had been brave enough to take that step, he could have saved Kang Ji-won from her tragic life. They first met during their university days. Ji-hyuk, on leave from the army, encountered Kang Ji-won, drunk and alone. He didn't think twice before preparing to leave with his friend. But hearing two people nearby speak ill of Kang Ji-won, he turned around and came back to Kang Ji-won's side. He asked her if she was alone. Kang Ji-won said her father had passed away some time ago, and that she had completely broken up with her boyfriend. Because of her severe myopia, Kang Ji-won couldn't see who was in front of her at all. Later, for safety, Ji Hyuk stayed by Kang Ji-won's side. Kang Ji-won told him about herself. She had no siblings. Her mother left home 10 years ago. And her father, with whom she had lived, passed away 3 months ago. Although she had no other friends because she was disliked, she still had a good friend, Sumin, who always stayed by her side. But whenever I'm really upset, I can't reach her. But like today, she's glad she didn't end up with Sumin. Otherwise, she would feel really pathetic. Because her ex-boyfriend, I don't know when, but he only had eyes for Sumin. That's why they broke up. And Kang Ji-won thinks this is only natural. Sumin is not only kind but also beautiful. I feel so shabby standing next to her. I feel completely like a loser. But Kang Ji-won only has this one friend. And she's been very uneasy ever since her father passed away. Sumin, like family, gives her a sense of security. Ji Hyuk also talked about himself. His mother passed away 15 years ago. Later, he got a stepmother. And a younger sister. Although they were good people, he always felt something was strange. Kang Ji-won thought that although losing his mother was a sad thing, his father's willingness to move on. Wasn't that a good thing? If his own father could also move forward, then he wouldn't have died. That night, the two of them talked like friends, sharing their stories. And so it went until the next day. When Ji Hyuk opened his eyes again, Kang Ji-won was gone. He thought he wouldn't see her again. But unexpectedly, Kang Ji-won was at his school. While resting after his workout, he heard Kang Ji-won's voice. Following the sound, he saw Kang Ji-won. I wonder who she's telling about that night. Ji Hyuk only then learned that Kang Ji-won was his senior. As he was leaving, he saw Kang Ji-won's chat partner. It was a small orange cat. He immediately remembered Kang Ji-won's words from earlier. Kang Ji-won thought he was a creepy older man. After that, Ji Hyuk would return to school whenever he had a day off. He secretly watched Kang Ji-won from afar. He also built a good relationship with the little orange cat using cat treats. Seeing Kang Ji-won shielding the little orange cat from the snow, he built a special cat house for it. He silently helped Kang Ji-won take care of the little orange cat all along. Ji Hyuk actually had many chances to be with Kang Ji-won. Therefore, years later, Ji Hyuk, now a minister, met Kang Ji-won again, only to see that she already had a boyfriend. So he thought he didn't have a chance. Little did he know what Kang Ji-won's life would become. Therefore, this time he wouldn't let go. Reborn, he would seize every opportunity. On the other hand, what was destined to happen, happened. Kang Ji-won thought her plan wouldn't be stolen by Sumin again. But the team leader actually helped. Sumin appropriated her project proposal. Ji Hyuk made changes based on Kang Ji-won's advice. A new him appeared at the company. He also received everyone's amazed gazes, just like Kang Ji-won. Park Min-hwan noticed the atmosphere between the director and Kang Ji-won. He immediately sensed something was wrong. He immediately called Kang Ji-won out. He reminded her that the director was definitely interested in her. Keep her away from him. Kang Ji-won said he was overthinking. The director already has a girlfriend. But Park Min-hwan said, so what if he has a girlfriend? All men cheat. Kang Ji-won found it ironic coming from him. So he told him, Park Min-hwan, you would absolutely never do that. Park Min-hwan suddenly realized he had just insulted himself, so he immediately changed his words. Everyone else is like that, except for him. That's why he could see the minister's ulterior motives. He warned Kang Ji-won to be careful. Kang Ji-won outwardly agreed, saying she understood. But inwardly, she had already reached her limit. Just then, Yuran came looking for her. She quickly left. Watching Kang Ji-won's back, Park Min-hwan thought she had been acting strangely lately. Meanwhile, Ji Hyuk received a call from his grandfather's office manager. It was because he had recently purchased stocks outside the company, and the amount was quite large. The finance department submitted his stock transaction records for reporting. But Ji Hyuk never touched areas he didn't understand before, so the director called to confirm with him. Grandpa thinks Ji Hyuk should know something. Otherwise, why would he buy a project that's still uncertain? And the stock Ji Hyuk bought was Roy Jantal. Grandpa can't figure it out, so he asked the director to check, to see if Ji Hyuk has a nominee account. Ji Hyuk also realized that in his past life, he had never bought this stock. So in this life, with his changed actions, things that weren't problems before could become new problems. At the same time, Kang Ji-won and the others were resting in the break room. when they heard everyone excitedly discussing the director's transformation. But Yoo Hee-yeon said that's not her type. Ji-won, unaware of their true relationship, thought it was just lovers bickering. Then Soo-min suddenly appeared and joined their conversation. She also talked about the past with Kang Ji-won. It seemed that she and Kang Ji-won had a close relationship. But Kang Ji-won just felt very awkward and didn't want to respond. Soo-min, to show how good she is to Kang Ji-won, please take good care of Kang Ji-won's family. Because when Kang Ji-won was in Seoul, she always had trouble making friends at university. She frequently traveled between Busan and Seoul to look after Kang Ji-won. Kang Ji-won knows Soo-min is undermining her again. And now she understands why she couldn't make friends. Because Soo-min has been sabotaging her all along, to maintain a superficial relationship. She suppressed her anger. Unexpectedly, Yoo Hee-yeon vented her anger for her. While they were talking, the team leader suddenly came in and lost his temper. He thought they were just chatting together all day instead of working. He also ordered Kang Ji-won to move his car to a different spot in the parking lot. Yoo Hee-yeon gave him a look of disdain. Although Kang Ji-won was reluctant, he still took the keys. She didn't know the section chief was deliberately targeting her because of Soo-min. Kang Ji-won, having moved her car, watched the elevator ascend. She knew Soo-min was waiting for her. Everything was the same as in her past life. After showing concern for Kang Ji-won, Soo-min revealed her true intentions. For her regularization, she again asked Kang Ji-won to let her have the ready meal plan, or let her join the project. But Kang Ji-won still refused her. Unexpectedly, Soo-min's face suddenly changed. She questioned Kang Ji-won if he was still angry with her. Kang Ji-won didn't answer. Then she put on a smiling face again. Kang Ji-won would absolutely never let himself be tied to her life again. However, what was destined to happen, happened. Although Kang Ji-won refused to give up her project proposal to Soo-min, unexpectedly, the team leader suddenly said that her last submission was a duplicate of his own prepared proposal, meaning he wanted to put Kang Ji-won's proposal under his own name. He also generously offered to let Kang Ji-won join the project. The team leader went to great lengths to get Soo-min involved. Kang Ji-won didn't expect things to turn out this way. Kang Ji-won didn't expect things to develop like this. At this time, Ji Hyuk came before her. He wanted to ask Kang Ji-won out for dinner that night. But Kang Ji-won had already made plans with Baek Eun-ho for that evening. To figure out what happened in high school, Kang Ji-won met with Baek Eun-ho. Meanwhile, Park Min-hwan couldn't get in touch with Kang Ji-won. So he called Soo-min. He asked her if she was with Kang Ji-won. Soo-min told her that Kang Ji-won left work early, but she was dressed up nicely. She thought Kang Ji-won was going on a date with Park Min-hwan. Park Min-hwan was surprised to hear that. Then Soo-min told him to keep a close eye on Kang Ji-won. Kang Ji-won has suddenly changed her style recently. Something must have happened. And Kang Ji-won's mother is sick. Only after she left did he find his soulmate. That's how Park Min-hwan learned that Kang Ji-won's mother had an affair. Soo-min quickly pretended she had misspoken and explained. She begged Park Min-hwan to pretend he hadn't heard it. She started creating conflict between the two again. Meanwhile, Kang Ji-won finally realized that she had misunderstood the relationship between Ji Hyuk and Yoo Hee-yeon. I also learned that the reply Baek Eun-ho received in high school was actually written by Soo-min. Baek Eun-ho took out that reply. The words inside were harsh. Do you think you're so popular that everyone will like you? I'm going to throw up. Don't talk to me. Kang Ji-won realized that Soo-min could actually a perfect imitation of her handwriting. She went to extremes to make people dislike her. Thus, the misunderstanding between them in high school was finally resolved. Kang Ji-won understood Baek Eun-ho's feelings for her, but she was no longer the same Kang Ji-won. And she had more important things to do. So she rejected Baek Eun-ho's confession and said she already had a boyfriend. Baek Eun-ho thought her boyfriend was Ji Hyuk, who had contacted her earlier. She described his appearance. Kang Ji-won was surprised that she knew the director. Baek Eun-ho told her that Ji Hyuk was the one who told her to go to the class reunion. Kang Ji-won couldn't understand what was going on. At that moment, the Ji Hyuk they were talking about happened to drive by. Seeing them together, he felt uneasy. Then he thought of Kang Ji-won's face. He felt he couldn't miss this opportunity again. So he called Kang Ji-won. But because Kang Ji-won didn't want to answer Min-hwan's call, she turned off her phone. The call didn't go through. Ji Hyuk turned around and drove to Kang Ji-won's house. Meanwhile, on her way home, Kang Ji-won suddenly sensed someone following her. She ran away in fear. Then she was startled by the sudden appearance of Park Min-hwan. It turned out that Park Min-hwan was trying to get revenge on Ji-won for not answering his calls, so he deliberately scared her. He felt that Kang Ji-won had become arrogant lately. He questioned her, asking who she was dressed up so nicely to see. Then he added, like mother, like daughter. This instantly angered Kang Ji-won. Park Min-hwan continued to scold Kang Ji-won for acting strangely lately. Then he held onto her wrist tightly. He angrily questioned where she had been. Unexpectedly, Ji Hyuk appeared at that moment. Ji Hyuk, because of his actions in his past life that led to Kang Ji-won's death, was filled with uncontrollable rage. He immediately stepped forward and pushed him against the wall. I remembered what he said at Kang Ji-won's funeral. Ji Hyuk was so angry he lost control. Kang Ji-won stopped him. After Ji Hyuk calmed down, he let go. But Park Min-hwan ran away in terror. Only after escaping did he realize why he ran. He thought he hadn't acted because he wasn't in good condition. Otherwise, he would have knocked the director down. Seeing that Kang Ji-won hadn't caught up, he angrily took his frustration out on the trash. Ji Hyuk asked Kang Ji-won how his wrist was. But Kang Ji-won asked him in return why he was there. Ji Hyuk lied, saying he just happened to be there on business. But Kang Ji-won pressed him, asking what business he had. Ji Hyuk had no choice but to say it was because Kang Ji-won hadn't answered his calls. He was a little worried, so he came over. But Kang Ji-won told him it was already off work hours. Even if he had something to do, it had nothing to do with him. Ji Hyuk said it did. Because Park Min-hwan would hurt you. Kang Ji-won, hearing these words, only thought Ji Hyuk was perceptive because of his wealth. Little did she know that Ji Hyuk, like her, was also a reincarnated person. Little did she know that Ji Hyuk, like her, was also a time traveler. Soo-min, who came to watch the show, expected to see Park Min-hwan and Kang Ji-won fight, but unexpectedly saw the director. While she was curious, Park Min-hwan called her. Kang Ji-won's confession to Ji Hyuk made her uncomfortable. Because of her personal experiences, she hates infidelity, believing that betraying a partner is especially wrong. Ji Hyuk thought she was talking about her own engagement, so he told her he had already taken care of it. But Kang Ji-won was shocked to hear this. She didn't expect the director to be this kind of person, treating his girlfriend like a business deal. At this moment, Ji Hyuk finally understood why Ji-won was acting so strangely all of a sudden. So he explained everything to Kang Ji-won. He directly called Yoo Hee-yeon to confirm their sibling relationship. This misunderstanding was truly huge. Kang Ji-won hurriedly apologized to Ji Hyuk and asked him to forget what she said today. But Ji Hyuk said it wasn't entirely a misunderstanding. He finally seized the opportunity to express his feelings. I like you very much. On the other hand, after Park Min-hwan was scared away by the minister, he called Soo-min in a depressed mood. To show that she had rushed over from somewhere else, Soo-min hailed a taxi. After getting in, she unbuttoned 2 buttons of her shirt, while telling the driver to go a few meters forward before she could get out and see Park Min-hwan. He was concerned and asked if he was hurt. At the same time, Ji Hyuk was seeing Kang Ji-won home. When he learned that Kang Ji-won wasn't feeling well, had an upset stomach, he nervously wanted to check on him, but suddenly fainted. Afterwards, Kang Ji-won took him to the hospital. After examination, Ji Hyuk fainted because of overwork and lack of sleep. It was also due to irregular eating habits. And it seems he also has problems with his autonomic nervous system. The doctor suggested he undergo further examinations. Ji Hyuk quickly asked the doctor to examine Kang Ji-won, because he knew Kang Ji-won had a weak stomach. But Kang Ji-won thought it wasn't necessary. She only had gastritis. But because in her past life, Kang Ji-won had stomach cancer, Ji Hyuk insisted she get a checkup. Kang Ji-won reluctantly told him that she'd already had a CT scan recently. It was just gastritis. Hearing this, Ji Hyuk and the doctor were both puzzled. Because why would a normal person think to get a CT scan? Kang Ji-won didn't know how to explain. So he changed the subject, asking Ji Hyuk how he knew about her stomach problems. Ji Hyuk was also at a loss for how to answer. He said he saw her taking medicine frequently at the office. Meanwhile, Soo-min's worry again stirred Park Min-hwan's restless heart. So the two of them went to a deserted place. Looking at Soo-min's pitiful appearance, Park Min-hwan couldn't help but lean in to kiss her. But then, Soo-min suddenly pushed him away. Soo-min pretended to be heartbroken, as if she didn't want to hurt Kang Ji-won. Park Min-hwan could only hold her, his heart aching. On the way back home, Soo-min started to playfully tease Park Min-hwan again. Park Min-hwan tried his best to control himself. Seeing Park Min-hwan get out of the car with her, Soo-min began her game of push and pull. Park Min-hwan thought he would spend the evening with her. He was unexpectedly turned away. But Soo-min suddenly said she felt good being with him. But their relationship is too complicated. Because of Kang Ji-won. Just as Park Min-hwan felt disheartened, Soo-min opened the door and came out again. The two finally made some real progress. Meanwhile, the two, having finished their checkup, left the hospital. Because of Ji-hyuk's confession, an awkward atmosphere hung between them. Then Ji-hyuk suddenly said he was a good person, hoping Kang Ji-won would feel comfortable being with him. Through their time together, Kang Ji-won could sense that Ji-hyuk was a good person. But she, having been deeply hurt, doesn't dare to easily trust anyone anymore. So she reminds Ji-hyuk that she already has a boyfriend. And he's her subordinate. Today's events also put her in a difficult position. Ji-hyuk once again confesses his feelings for Kang Ji-won. But if Kang Ji-won doesn't feel the same, he won't do anything. I won't put her in a difficult position. I'll just let her consider it. Ji-hyuk didn't want Kang Ji-won to feel pressured. So he didn't ride in the same car with Kang Ji-won. Instead, he took another car and followed behind Kang Ji-won's. He escorted her home. That night, both of them were kept awake by thoughts of each other. At the company building, Baek Eun-ho was seen by Ji-hyuk when he delivered coffee to Kang Ji-won. He never expected to be presented with a rival in love. Although he appeared calm on the surface, his sister, Yoo Hee-yeon, immediately noticed his bad mood. She reminded everyone to be careful at work today. Kang Ji-won also seemed preoccupied. At that moment, Soo-min greeted everyone cheerfully. Kang Ji-won immediately noticed that she was different from usual. At that moment, Park Min-hwan entered in a bad mood. He not only wore a frown, but also angrily threw things around. And Kang Ji-won didn't give him a good look either. She just looked at him silently. Park Min-hwan became even angrier, because he thought Kang Ji-won should have read his mood. I wonder what he's so arrogant about over there. At this moment, the minister appeared and told him that smoking was prohibited here. Park Min-hwan instinctively put out his cigarette. Then he immediately thought of last night's events. He questioned him whether he was following Kang Ji-won. Ji-hyuk told him that the company had a logistics warehouse nearby. Saying this, he opened the map. And on his way to the warehouse, he happened to see the safety of his subordinate is seriously threatened. Park Min-hwan felt that although Kang Ji-won was his subordinate, she was also his girlfriend. That should be their private life. He told him to mind his own business. Unexpectedly, Ji-hyuk directly told him to break up with Kang Ji-won, and then expressed his feelings for Kang Ji-won. In order to prevent Park Min-hwan from bothering Kang Ji-won, Ji-hyuk warned Park Min-hwan. He also let him experience the pain Kang Ji-won suffered yesterday. Park Min-hwan, feeling dejected after the lesson, hid outside to smoke. He was startled by the sudden appearance of Kang Ji-won. Kang Ji-won wanted to break up with Park Min-hwan because of yesterday's incident, but she reconsidered. If they broke up now, what would happen to Park Min-hwan and Soo-min? Because she felt something was happening between them. Then Park Min-hwan suddenly apologized for hitting her yesterday. But immediately after, he said Kang Ji-won was also at fault. If she hadn't overreacted, the director wouldn't have interfered. Kang Ji-won didn't understand. Why was he so easily letting go of what happened yesterday? He didn't even mention breaking up. Meanwhile, Park Min-hwan was thinking that the director was definitely envious of Kang Ji-won. So he decided to discipline Kang Ji-won properly. Then Kang Ji-won asked him if he went straight home yesterday. This made Park Min-hwan think of last night's intimate encounter with Soo-min. His flustered appearance made Kang Ji-won even more certain that something had happened. Otherwise, he wouldn't have just let it go. Back in the office, she saw Ji-hyuk who had gone out. She didn't know that Ji-hyuk had been silently protecting her all along. The section chief's sudden appearance made Kang Ji-won and Juran go to lunch with him. Hearing this, Park Min-hwan hurriedly said to Kang Ji-won that only Soo-min would be left for lunch. But Sumin said in a way that she would just have a cup of coffee for lunch. Seeing the unusual atmosphere between Park Min-hwan and Sumin, Kang Ji-won was certain that what happened must be related to Sumin. To get them together as soon as possible, Kang Ji-won started to play matchmaker, getting him to take Sumin out to dinner. He then used his own card to treat them to dinner, and told Park Min-hwan to definitely take Sumin to a place with a nice atmosphere. Park Min-hwan happily accepted. He then took Sumin to a high-end restaurant. Then he began ordering food in a pretentious way, as if he were a regular here. He even asked the waiter to recommend a red wine. Watching Park Min-hwan's gentlemanly demeanor, Sumin thought he was truly the best among the men she'd dated. He was not only classy but also knowledgeable, and he worked for a large corporation. He was a great catch. But Park Min-hwan's inner thoughts were, she must be falling for me now. While waiting for the meal, Park Min-hwan asked Sumin if she slept well yesterday. Sumin said she couldn't sleep all night, but actually, she slept soundly until dawn. They are a perfect match. Meanwhile, on the other side, the section chief asked Kang Ji-won to dinner because of the project proposal. Although he put his name on the proposal, he needs Kang Ji-won to do all the work. Kang Ji-won knows clearly that the section chief wants to reap the rewards without doing the work. Then he thought Kang Ji-won's proposal was unrealistic, because finding authentic gourmet restaurants and then producing ready-to-cook meal kits would take a considerable amount of time. So he decided to build the brand using a famous chef's name. He would change the packaging and materials. Then, he would utilize the company's distribution channels. The product would definitely sell well. But Kang Ji-won said that wouldn't work, because the focus of her plan was convenience. The convenience of making at home those foods that require queuing. But then the section chief suddenly shouted, "That's just Kang Ji-won's priority. His priority is to use this project to become a director. And then make Yuran a section chief. Someone of Kang Ji-won's rank just needs to follow orders. Then tell Kang Ji-won that this project belongs to the company. Tell her not to act on her own accord." After Kang Ji-won left, Yuran thought it wasn't a good idea to remove the proposer. And just changing the packaging isn't a good solution either. But the section chief said, "Who says we're doing that?" His goal was to get rid of Kang Ji-won. He added the name of his patron, Director Wang, to have Director Wang push this project forward. Although Kang Ji-won had decided to fight the section chief, she hadn't yet figured out how. Then she received a message. Park Min-hwan took Sumin out to eat and ended up spending 340,000 won on her. Kang Ji-won, I underestimated him. At the same time, Director Wang summoned Ji Hyuk. He handed him a proposal, saying it was an idea from a team leader, hoping he would approve it. Ji Hyuk, this proposal from Kang Ji-won is about ready-made meal kits. It's very similar to what Kang Ji-won said a few days ago. But Kang Ji-won's name isn't on the proposal. Ji Hyuk wasn't sure if Kang Ji-won wrote it. So she texted her, asking her how the proposal was coming along. Kang Ji-won told her she was working hard on it. She realized Ji Hyuk must have noticed something, even though Ji Hyuk could help her. But she wants to rely on her own strength. In the evening, Ji Hyuk brought Kang Ji-won to the training ground. He introduced his two juniors to Kang Ji-won. He was going to teach Kang Ji-won self-defense today. He had already prepared a training uniform for her. After the training began, Ji Hyuk and Shin-woo demonstrated for Kang Ji-won. Then Kang Ji-won needed to take down Dong-suk like just now. But after several attempts, Dong-suk remained motionless. Ji Hyuk told him to shout louder. However, it was useless. So Kang Ji-won readjusted. It worked. And her sparring partner was Ji Hyuk. Ji Hyuk told her the first step to victory was to stand on the mat and face your opponent directly. Usually, opponents won't let you catch them that easily. But sometimes they'll let you, because they know you can't defeat them anyway. Kang Ji-won didn't believe it and tried again. But she failed. However, Kang Ji-won decided to rely on herself. She hugged Ji Hyuk and pushed him down. Kang Ji-won succeeded. She thought Ji Hyuk definitely didn't expect her to choose against him. But it must have been Ji Hyuk who let his guard down just now. Looking at Ji Hyuk like this suddenly gave Kang Ji-won a sense of déjà vu. From the judo Ji Hyuk taught him, Kang Ji-won knew how to fight back against the team leader and the others. Kang Ji-won revised the plan according to the team leader's suggestions and apologized for his actions yesterday. The section chief has already removed her name from the plan. Kang Ji-won pleaded with the section chief for another chance. So the section chief asked her to revise and resubmit both plans. He'll decide then, depending on Kang Ji-won's performance. And Kang Ji-won showed weakness to him, actually to make him reveal the corner of his judo uniform for her to grab. And that corner was already showing. It's Wang, the executive director. She plans to use the assault video from her past life involving executive director Wang to reclaim what is rightfully hers. While she's thinking about how to implement her next plan, Sumin suddenly asks her to have some snacks in the break room. Then, Duran awkwardly asks Kang Ji-won when she can finish the plan, before showing it to the team leader. I hope she'll share that with me and Sumin. Yuron suddenly taking such good care of Sumin is because Sumin was kind to Yuron when they went to buy snacks earlier. She comforted her, saying not to worry too much about Kang Ji-won's name being removed, because there are rules to follow at work. And although Kang Ji-won is great in many ways, she's too upright and inflexible. Kang Ji-won heard Yuron say this. She then smoothly began her own plan. She shared her marketing strategy. At this time, Ji-hyuk appeared. He heard Kang Ji-won say that the entire plan would use director Wang's name for promotion. Because for the product to quickly gain attention, a star effect is needed. Kang Ji-won believed that introducing a trustworthy expert would be better than a celebrity, and director Wang should inspire trust. Ji-hyuk wasn't sure why Kang Ji-won was doing this, but he still signed off on the marketing strategy report. Following Kang Ji-won's plan, everything was proceeding smoothly. Director Wang became the spokesperson for the new product, and their popularity soared. He became a household name as a culinary expert. He was in a great mood, so he went to find the section chief and asked him, who had thought of putting his own name on it. To take credit, the section chief said he had thought of it. Executive Wang praised him for doing a good job, and he was preparing to go abroad tomorrow to open up the overseas market. Looking at Executive Wang's business trip announcement, Kang Ji-won was incredibly anticipating Executive Wang's performance on the plane tomorrow. Park Min-hwan and Sumin suddenly showed up with fried chicken to see Kang Ji-won. Kang Ji-won had been so busy with work lately that the three of them hadn't gotten together in a long time. Park Min-hwan told her not to be so obsessed with work. Sumin said that Kang Ji-won's dedication to her work would benefit her in the future. Unexpectedly, Kang Ji-won replied, "I want the benefits now." The other two didn't understand why Kang Ji-won suddenly said that. This Kang Ji-won felt unfamiliar to them. Kang Ji-won left on the pretext of going out on a field assignment to give the two of them more time alone. She left under the pretense of having a field assignment. The next day, as soon as director Wang boarded the plane, Kang Ji-won called him. She revealed her identity to him, and then explained that the project the director was currently working on was originally hers. She's now objecting to being excluded. She's objecting to her exclusion. Kang Ji-won's call was intended to provoke director Wang to make what was destined to happen sooner. Director Wang, already in a foul mood, saw someone sitting next to him. His anger intensified. He took his anger out on the flight attendant. By this time, someone had already started filming his assault. Then, he called his section chief. He questioned him why he hadn't yet dealt with Kang Ji-won, who submitted the business plan. Soon after his assault was exposed, he was not only fired from the group, but he also said he would kill Kang Ji-won, who submitted the business plan. This statement by the acting director also caused quite a stir in public opinion. Kang Ji-won finally got back what was stolen from her. Her excitement was beyond words. As she was lost in her music, Ji-hyuk's sudden appearance startled her. Ji-hyuk came to tell her that director Wang had been dismissed from the company. And because manager Kim stole Kang Ji-won's project proposal, the company will hold a disciplinary committee hearing against him. Kang Ji-won's music player fell when he left. He saw Kang Ji-won listening to BTS. Ji-hyuk said he liked them too. He even named two songs, Dynamite and Spring Day. As soon as Kang Ji-won finished speaking, he realized Ji-hyuk was also a reincarnated person. He thought back to Ji-hyuk's previous actions, and Ji-hyuk suddenly realized it too. Kang Ji-won is like himself because of Dynamite. It was released in 2020. Spring Day was released in 2017, but their current time is 2013. After Kang Ji-won confirmed each other's identities as reborn individuals, Ji Hyuk also learned about Kang Ji-won's next plan, to marry Park Min-hwan and Soo-min. Otherwise, if she married Park Min-hwan like in her past life, she would still develop cancer in the end, and die at the hands of her best friend and husband. Kang Ji-won only now realizes that what's destined to happen will still happen. Because after her rebirth, apart from getting Baek Eun-ho to attend the class reunion, basically nothing has changed. Kang Ji-won finds it strange that she knew about the class reunion. Ji Hyuk said he attended a funeral. Kang Ji-won knew very well that no one would be sad or regretful at her funeral. No one would be sad or regretful at her funeral. People would only think that someone had died. But she didn't know that Ji Hyuk was actually talking about herself. That night, they should have had a lot to say to each other. So Ji Hyuk took Kang Ji-won home. The orange cat at home also liked Kang Ji-won. Seeing this, Ji Hyuk smiled. But the next second, the image of the car accident flashed in his mind. His smile vanished. Ji Hyuk asked Kang Ji-won what would happen if she avoided fate. For example, if she broke up with Park Min-hwan and ran away. However, Kang Ji-won had already tried that. Once she mentioned breaking up, Park Min-hwan would become violently abusive, like a madman. She might have been listed, presumably on a missing persons list or something similar, 10 years earlier. Escape requires a certain level of financial support. Ji Hyuk offered to help her. But Kang Ji-won told him that even if she ran, she couldn't escape. Just like the scar she originally had on her arm, from being burned by a kettle. After her rebirth, because Ji Hyuk took the injury for her, the scar transferred to Ji Hyuk. Even the shape was exactly the same as hers before. In other words, what's meant to happen will still happen. Unless you hand your fate over to someone else. So, since Ji Hyuk's car accident fate was unavoidable, who could it ultimately be attributed to? Ji Hyuk's rebirth was actually no accident. Because before the car accident, he had met Kang Ji-won's father. After placing Kang Ji-won's ashes, Ji Hyuk prepared to drive home. But the car suddenly malfunctioned and wouldn't start. Ji Hyuk, already despairing, completely broke down. Just as he felt helpless and regretful, a taxi suddenly appeared before him. And the driver was Kang Ji-won's father, who had passed away years ago. The moment Ji Hyuk got into the car, he felt immense regret. He had so many chances back then. But he didn't realize it was a chance. Only after Kang Ji-won's death did he understand his own feelings. Kang Ji-won's father watched his sorrowful state, and asked him what he would do if he had another chance. Ji Hyuk said he would protect Kang Ji-won. Kang Ji-won's father saw that he was someone who could make his daughter happy. So after Ji Hyuk's death, he helped him be reborn 10 years earlier, giving him a second chance. But Ji Hyuk didn't tell Kang Ji-won that he died in a car accident and was reborn. He only said that he woke up in 2013 after falling asleep. The next day. The following day, Yuran came to work. Remembering Kang Ji-won's previous invitation to collaborate, she shared her project proposal with her. But in the end, Ji-won sided with the team leader. It made her feel guilty towards Kang Ji-won, just as she was filled with regret. The chairman's chief of staff suddenly appeared at the company. There seemed to be some connection between the two. Meanwhile, after Ji Hyuk received a call from Yoo Hyun, he rushed to the company. It turned out the chief of staff was there to take up the position of the head of the personnel department. Ji Hyuk knew this wasn't a typical company personnel change. Instead, the chairman sent him here to monitor him. Ever since Ji Hyuk told his grandfather about his feelings for someone, his every move has been reported to his grandfather. Like yesterday, when he brought Kang Ji-won home. The director thinks Ji Hyuk's handing over the ready meal project to Kang Ji-won is mixing personal feelings into his work. Before he could be blinded by a woman, judging from a very objective perspective, before he decided to assign the project to Yuran. However, Kang Ji-won could participate as a team member. Ji Hyuk didn't want to say more and prepared to leave. Just as the director felt relieved, Ji Hyuk dealt him a blow. He returned his own words to him. Afterwards, Ji Hyuk, at the meeting, the ready meal project is restarting. Kang Ji-won thought she would be in charge of this project, but the team leader is actually Juran. And she, along with Park Min-hwan and Soo-min, are team members. Kang Ji-won doesn't understand why this is happening, so she chases after them to ask. But before she could speak, Ji Hyuk tells her to discuss any issues with Juran. Ji Hyuk, who appeared calm in front of Kang Ji-won, drove alone to the river. He was actually very upset inside. He would die in a car accident in 10 years. Then he wouldn't be able to stay by Kang Ji-won's side forever. The next day, Ji Hyuk went to Baek Eun-ho's restaurant and immediately tried to verify if he was a time traveler. I asked him if he'd ever heard of dynamite. Baek Eun-ho looked completely bewildered. Ji Hyuk knew he wasn't a time traveler. He marveled at the length of his life. He meant that Baek Eun-ho could live a very long time. But Baek Eun-ho had no idea what he was talking about. He just thought Ji Hyuk was drunk. Soon, Ji Hyuk passed out drunk. Yoo Hee-yeon rushed over after receiving the call. Seeing Yoo Hee-yeon like this reminded Baek Eun-ho of the time he called Kang Ji-won, and this was the sound in the background. Yoo Hee-yeon also realized upon seeing the restaurant name that the person in front of her was Kang Ji-won's friend. The cake she ate last time was sent by Baek Eun-ho. The next morning, Ji Hyuk was called to the study by the chairman as soon as he woke up. He told her that he had handled the Wang Changmu matter very well, and URA is the vice president of the airline. She is the woman engaged to Ji Hyuk. At the same time, the chairman also knew that yesterday he had a very unpleasant quarrel with the managing director. Ji Hyuk then learned that besides the managing director, the chairman also had other informants within the company. The chairman also knows Ji Hyuk will eventually get rid of his spies, but not the chairman. He hopes Ji Hyuk can find a way to make the chairman his own man. This will be a great help to him in inheriting the group later. Then the chairman said he had already discussed the annulment of the engagement with his father. The chairman won't force Ji Hyuk to fulfill his wishes, and he also knows that Ji Hyuk and URA aren't have those feelings for each other. But it was a promise after all. Unilaterally breaking it is impolite, so he asked Ji Hyuk to personally explain things to URA. After that, the chairman asked Ji Hyuk when he could meet the girl his grandson likes. I didn't expect Ji Hyuk would. You shouldn't see her, because I hope she'll be happy. Ji Hyuk knows clearly that his time will end in 10 years. But at least this time, he can protect Kang Ji-won. Meanwhile, the stock Kang Ji-won bought soared. But Park Min-hwan, because he had to repay Kang Ji-won, sold that stock. He blamed everything on Kang Ji-won. Luckily, he still had another TKU stock that was rising. Otherwise, he would be so regretful that he'd want to jump into the Han River with Kang Ji-won. Kang Ji-won returned to her seat and looked at the stock in disbelief. It had skyrocketed to 701%. Then Park Min-hwan suddenly called her out. Just as Kang Ji-won closed the page and left, Soo-min happened to see her. So she curiously opened Kang Ji-won's webpage. Kang Ji-won had secretly bought Roy Janter's stock behind Park Min-hwan's back. She thought Kang Ji-won was pretending to be clueless, but secretly seeing the stock's returns, Soo-min couldn't help but buy it too. Meanwhile, Park Min-hwan told Kang Ji-won that the restaurant he and Soo-min went to last time had a great atmosphere. So he wanted to take Kang Ji-won there today. However, he asked Kang Ji-won to pay using the money he got from selling his Roy Jan Tower stocks and gave to Kang Ji-won, because before marrying Kang Ji-won, he wanted to have something with Soo-min that would inevitably cost some money. So he set his sights on Kang Ji-won's money. But Kang Ji-won saw through his ulterior motives immediately. She lied, saying she'd already used the money to buy insurance. If they terminated the contract now, she wouldn't even get half of it back. Park Min-hwan exploded in anger after hearing this. He was still considering whether he should sell his TKU stock. However, Kang Ji-won didn't want him to sell it, because that stock is a speculative stock. It will eventually plummet. Park Min-hwan will surely be trapped and lose everything. So she asked Park Min-hwan how much money he needed. She happened to have a savings account that was about to mature, which she could lend him. Then the three of them went on a trip. It was clearly an opportunity created by Kang Ji-won for the two of them. The two of them didn't shy away from Kang Ji-won. They were laughing and chatting. They even lay down together. Soo-min is someone she's known since middle school. Park Min-hwan is someone she's been dating since she entered society. Soo-min said the three of them are like family. Park Min-hwan reached out his hand. Kang Ji-won was startled and sat up to cover up her strange behavior. She lied and said she saw a bug. Unexpectedly, Soo-min was so scared by this that she hid in Park Min-hwan's arms. She did this to give them a chance to be alone, to speed things up between them. Kang Ji-won received a call saying that Duran needed her, and left. But the person who called was actually Baek-eun-ho. He was waiting downstairs at Kang Ji-won's company with flowers. Because his restaurant moved near Kang Ji-won's company, he came to see Kang Ji-won. Ji Hyuk saw him delivering flowers again. Although he decided to only protect Kang Ji-won, he still felt bothered seeing them together. Then Kang Ji-won came to see him, and he also had something to say to Kang Ji-won. He told Kang Ji-won, "I missed two things when I inherited the group in 2021. 2 points I missed during the succession. One was Cloud9 Aviation and Kelite Travel. They became completely independent from the UK group. The other was the managing director. Although the chairman had told me to keep the managing director close. But after I became chairman, the managing director submitted his resignation. The managing director had always been someone I was uncomfortable with. He's also someone he can't control. That's why he couldn't let Ji-won take charge of the project." Kang Ji-won now understands the reason. Soon after, Ji Hyuk came to Baek-eun-ho's restaurant again. For Kang Ji-won, he needs to find out about Baek-eun-ho. Is he someone she can entrust herself to? And whether his feelings for Kang Ji-won are genuine. The UK group held a team-building event to improve teamwork. This event was organized by Yoo Hee-yeon. Everyone would decide where to sleep through a treasure hunt and name tag game. Park Min-hwan confidently reassured them. He said he would find the #1 campsite quickly. Then he would help the girls' team. But as soon as the game started, he was eliminated. He was out right away. In her past life, Kang Ji-won only remembered Min-hwan ultimately getting sleeping bag number 5. He ultimately got sleeping bag number 5. She finally found sleeping bag number 4 and slept in the tent. Meanwhile, with the section chief's help, Soo-min easily obtained the camper van. However, in this life, the section chief is gone. Will Soo-min get her wish? As Kang Ji-won was pondering this, Soo-min suddenly appeared and pulled her into hiding. At that moment, they heard Yoo Hee-yeon and Yeon saying, "He hid flag number 1 in a place with water." Soo-min's first thought was to ask the section chief to help her. But the section chief wasn't there. So she asked where Kang Ji-won and Park Min-hwan were. She thought that all she needed to do was ask someone for help. Was it necessary for her to go down such a difficult path herself? Before leaving, she also told Kang Ji-won, "If you want something, you have to get it by any means necessary." Only now does Kang Ji-won understand why Soo-min got everything she wanted in 2023. At that time, she happened to meet Ji Hyuk. Kang Ji-won has always been reluctant to ask Ji Hyuk for help, because she doesn't want to become like Soo-min. She spoke her mind. She hopes to be self-reliant. Note, the last line is incomplete in the original. This is a plausible completion. Let's just maintain this kind of relationship. She plans to face everything herself, and Ji Hyuk once said she's a capable person. She can do what she wants to do. So Ji Hyuk just needs to occasionally be her listener, allowing her to pour out some things she can't tell others. But Ji Hyuk still wants to help her. He felt he was reborn here to protect Kang Ji-won. He also showed his love tattoo. However, Kang Ji-won hoped that Ji Hyuk would be happy in this life. Meanwhile, Soo-min found Park Min-hwan. To get him to help her, Soo-min deliberately cut her arm. Then she screamed to attract Park Min-hwan's attention. Then she started playing tricks again. Then she revealed her own. She asked Park Min-hwan to go to the stream and find flag number 1 for her. Because she was injured, going into the water would definitely make the wound hurt more. Meanwhile, Kang Ji-won had already arrived at the stream. She wanted to get flag number 1 by herself. At the same time, Ji Hyuk heard the stream. Places deeper than 2 meters are dangerous. Thinking that Kang Ji-won had gone there, he hurried over. At that moment, Kang Ji-won had just reached the deep part of the water. Just as she was in danger, Ji Hyuk appeared in time and saved her. Seeing that Kang Ji-won had almost died, Ji Hyuk angrily questioned her. He went into the water alone without any preparation at all. Didn't he know it was dangerous? Kang Ji-won once asked Ji Hyuk if he had anything he wanted to do after being reborn. Now he does. After Kang Ji-won's father passed away, Kang Ji-won felt like she was on a boat every day. She clearly had a firm footing, but the boat kept rocking. She felt uneasy. Ji Hyuk said he wanted to become Kang Ji-won's land. Kang Ji-won secured the #1 spot on her own, leaving Soo-min empty-handed. Tonight will be the most important turning point in Kang Ji-won's fate. She must get Soo-min and Park Min-hwan together. In her past life, Kang Ji-won obtained tent number 4, while Soo-min got the number 1 camper van. That night, after Park Min-hwan's persistent persuasion, the soft-hearted Kang Ji-won went out with him. She didn't return until the early morning. Therefore, in this life, she must make Soo-min sleep in tent number 4. Only then can she have a meaningful relationship with Park Min-hwan. Although Kang Ji-won now has the number 1 flag, it's uncertain whether fate has changed. However, one thing she's sure of is, Park Min-hwan borrowed money from her to buy Soo-min a necklace. And this is his killer move to sleep with a girl. Kang Ji-won had also received this in her past life. She revealed her plan. She needs to ensure Soo-min gets flag number 4. Then she'll get Park Min-hwan drunk. Ji Hyuk will also do everything he can to help Kang Ji-won. At this moment, Kang Ji-won suddenly remembered something from earlier. In the water, Ji Hyuk said he wanted to become land. She didn't understand what he meant. She thought she had misheard. It turned out she had already forgotten Ji Hyuk. The confession she made to Ji Hyuk the night they first met. Meanwhile, Soo-min, as expected, successfully grabbed flag number 4. However, her goal was still flag number 1. Just as she was wondering who got flag number 1, Kang Ji-won appeared before her. Kang Ji-won deliberately attracted Soo-min's attention, leading her to a clearing. After hiding the flag, she waited for Soo-min's arrival. Next, watch Kang Ji-won tear the green tea apart. Kang Ji-won lashed out at Soo-min. She vented her anger. But she, originally kind-hearted, couldn't change instantly. She still had a soft heart and came back to check on Soo-min. Seeing Soo-min wasn't there, she prepared to leave. But Soo-min had anticipated her return. She ambushed her and stole flag number 1. In the evening, Yoo Hee-yeon announced the results of the activity. The winner of campsite number 1 was still Kang Ji-won. It turned out that when Soo-min was about to leave earlier that day, Kang Ji-won forcefully grabbed her. She wouldn't give up what she already had. Everything was proceeding according to Kang Ji-won's plan. Soo-min came before Kang Ji-won, full of resentment. She spoke sarcastically to Kang Ji-won, saying that Kang Ji-won knew she was picky about beds but didn't accommodate her. But Kang Ji-won told her that she was also picky about beds. Soo-min still thought Kang Ji-won would let her have her way as before. Little did she know, Kang Ji-won directly told her, "I've stopped liking you." She started disliking Soo-min one day. She always complained and acted cute, treating Kang Ji-won's things as her own. It was annoying. Then, to provoke Soo-min, Kang Ji-won told her that she was about to. "I'm marrying Park Min-hwan and starting a new family. It's impossible to be tied to her forever." Kang Ji-won finally spoke the words she'd been suppressing. But it was clearly Soo-min's fault. She only said what needed to be said. Yet she felt like she'd become the bad guy. But Ji Hyuk told her she did well. Soo-min was completely stung by Kang Ji-won. Right now, her priority is to punish Kang Ji-won. And Kang Ji-won deliberately used Park Min-hwan to provoke her. So she'll definitely target Park Min-hwan. At this time, the inebriated Park Min-hwan also noticed Soo-min. Then Park Min-hwan went to tent number 4 to find Soo-min, saying he wanted to talk to her. Afterwards, the two went to a small grove and began to probe each other. Park Min-hwan even directly asked Soo-min if she wanted to sleep with him. Soo-min, to get revenge on Kang Ji-won, said she was also. Under Soo-min's seduction, the two eagerly began. Kang Ji-won watched this scene, thinking of everything she suffered in her past life. She finally changed her fate a little. Kang Ji-won excitedly shed tears. Ji-heet covered her eyes with his hand. He led her away from that place. As soon as they left, Kang Ji-won couldn't help but cry. Kang Ji-won was going through a painful process. For her own sake, she had to abandon her compassion. Kang Ji-won was suffering inside. It was because in her past life, she truly loved Soo-min. At that time, she couldn't believe she would. Such a beautiful and kind friend. So I always accommodated her and protected her. And she truly treated Min-hwan well in return. Because at that time, she needed someone to rely on. So after marriage, she endured all his terrible flaws. Kang Ji-won thinks her past self was such a fool. Betrayed and killed by the two she treated with sincerity. But now it's all over. Kang Ji-won thought Park Min-hwan would break up with her next. Then he would naturally get together with Soo-min. But the next morning, Park Min-hwan came to see her. He complained about sleeping in a sleeping bag. Kang Ji-won didn't feel sorry for him at all. Kang Ji-won said that she had worried about him last night. and brought him a warming pad, but he wasn't there. Then she asked him where Sumin was. Park Min-hwan nervously said he didn't know where she was. He then changed the subject, wanting to take Kang Ji-won out to eat. At that moment, Sumin was watching them from afar. After Park Min-hwan succeeded last night, he unexpectedly denied it afterward. He only wanted to play around with Sumin. But in the end, he still wanted to marry Kang Ji-won. Sumin didn't expect it to turn out like this. Park Min-hwan also told her to be more realistic. After all, there's still Kang Ji-won between them. Let them just be beautiful memories for each other. But how could Sumin just let it go? She felt that Park Min-hwan was the best thing about Kang Ji-won. So she decided to take him away. Kang Ji-won noticed something was wrong by looking at Park Min-hwan. Things weren't developing as she expected, but she's known Park Min-hwan and Sumin for many years. It's certain something must have happened between them. Usually, when she senses something's wrong, every ex-boyfriend would break up with her. But Park Min-hwan was the first one who secretly got together with someone else while she was still with him. She initially thought it was because she and Park Min-hwan were already married, so Park Min-hwan kept it from her. But if Park Min-hwan is even worse than she imagined, that means things aren't over yet. Kang Ji-won still needs to push for them to be together until they get married. Sumin is now full of resentment towards Kang Ji-won. When she got home, she took out all the photos of herself and Kang Ji-won. Then she scratched out Kang Ji-won's face from every single one. Meanwhile, Park Min-hwan was joyfully showing off to his friends that he had scored his girlfriend's best friend. But a friend's words brought him back to reality. Can you handle the consequences? The next day at the company, Park Min-hwan was assigned by the department head to go to the supermarket with Sumin to conduct market research. He wanted to switch with Kang Ji-won. Then Sumin casually asked her to go to work together. Before leaving, she left a card for Kang Ji-won. This is a letter of apology. The letter's contents are because you are my everything. So I neglected your feelings. I just blindly believed you loved me. I never considered whether I deserved to be loved. Therefore, everything you said, everything you felt, is all my fault. If it weren't for Kang Ji-won knowing her own ending, she would definitely be swayed by Sumin's writing. She felt that everything she said was sincere. Meanwhile, Park Min-hwan, who was working elsewhere, under Sumin's constant temptation, finally couldn't contain his inner turmoil. Seeing Sumin go to get the allergen label, he immediately dropped his work and chased after her. Sumin saw him coming. Just hand him the laptop and have him open it and take a look. After Park Min-hwan looked at it, he immediately took Sumin to the warehouse. He was impatient to begin, but Sumin stopped him. She questioned him whether he was toying with her. Unexpectedly, Park Min-hwan shamelessly said, "It's fine if I live with both of you." At this time, the supermarket staff called, because there was no allergen warning label. An elderly person had a pine nut allergy. Now they're in a real mess. To keep his job, Park Min-hwan secretly paid out of his own pocket to send the elderly person to the hospital, and continuously apologized to them. He showed off his financial capabilities in front of Sumin, but before he could finish, Park Min-hwan saw his purchased stock plummet. Kang Ji-won successfully saddled him with over 100 million won in debt. The stock crash drove Park Min-hwan crazy, leaving him at a loss. Kang Ji-won innocently suggested selling everything. However, the situation was far more serious than Kang Ji-won imagined. Park Min-hwan told her he had taken out loans. Kang Ji-won feigned ignorance, asking what a loan was. She watched Park Min-hwan's anxious expression. Kang Ji-won happily answered the phone and left. Then Kang Ji-won told Ji-hyuk about Park Min-hwan's situation. In her past life, she also only found out after marriage that Park Min-hwan had borrowed from loan sharks. After parting with Kang Ji-won, Park Min-hwan asked Sumin out. He told her that he was going to marry Kang Ji-won. He also passionately expressed his feelings for Sumin, but fate slammed on the brakes for them. And that fate was the loan shark. He needs to marry Kang Ji-won as soon as possible, to get Kang Ji-won to help him pay off his debts. After work, Park Min-hwan asked Kang Ji-won out. He acted pathetic in front of her. He wanted to gain Kang Ji-won's sympathy, but Kang Ji-won had already seen through his true nature. Park Min-hwan didn't expect Kang Ji-won to play her cards differently, so he changed his approach. They think she's getting on in years. She should be thinking about having children. But Kang Ji-won said, "To me, you're more important than children." Seeing that this method wouldn't work, Park Min-hwan directly proposed marriage to Kang Ji-won. Although he couldn't give her the lavish wedding he'd planned, he was sure they would have a happy family. He deliberately mentioned family. It's because he knew Kang Ji-won would be shaken if he talked about family. He didn't expect Kang Ji-won to remain unmoved. Park Min-hwan anxiously asked her if she minded that he had become penniless. Kang Ji-won knew very well that he was broke, and that's why he was so anxious to marry her. On Kang Ji-won's last birthday, Park Min-hwan said he would use the money his parents gave him. She invested her money and married Kang Ji-won. But the investment failed, and Kang Ji-won also became heavily indebted. At that time, she thought Park Min-hwan the person she chose to start a family with, so she helped him solve it. Kang Ji-won only felt that at that time, her choice was a truly wrong beginning. Ji Hyuk brought Kang Ji-won to the school club for self-defense training. As they reached the door, Kang Ji-won remembered the stray cat she used to feed. She told Ji Hyuk about it. She wanted to take the kitten home then, but she was afraid she couldn't take full responsibility for it. So she hesitated. And while she hesitated, the kitten suddenly disappeared. She really regretted it at the time. After listening, Ji Hyuk explained the story of his house cat. He had been in a similar car accident years ago, so he had been discharged from the military early. The reason for the accident was that he was saving a kitten. He ran into a car. Because he slipped, his anterior cruciate ligament was torn. Kang Ji-won didn't expect that. The kitten she'd been so worried about was rescued by Ji Hyuk and brought home. And it's being so well cared for. Ji Hyuk gave Kang Ji-won his house key. He invited her to come over anytime. Then the two continued analyzing Park Min-hwan's situation. He needs to get married now because he needs money from his family. He's burdened by loans and high-interest debts. He must owe hundreds of millions of won. Considering this, he definitely won't give up marrying Kang Ji-won. So Kang Ji-won already has a plan in mind. But this plan requires her to accept another low-class proposal like Park Min-hwan's. That birthday proposal made even the undemanding Kang Ji-won feel terrible. Thinking about it now, she still finds it terrifying. And my first birthday after being reborn. I have to see that terrifying thing again. Ji Hyuk, however, had a plan in mind. On Kang Ji-won's birthday, Ji Hyuk had UK Flight Tech bring Kang Ji-won an unforgettable birthday present. Countless drones formed in the sky, a secret code only Kang Ji-won could understand. Park Min-hwan, dressed in a suit, appeared before Kang Ji-won. He said that he had prepared all of this for Kang Ji-won. Then he took out a diamond ring and proposed to Kang Ji-won. Ji Hyuk, Sumin, Juran, and Yoo Hyun all offered their blessings. Kang Ji-won accepted Park Min-hwan's proposal. While everyone was congratulating the couple, Sumin suddenly asked Park Min-hwan, "How did you come up with the idea of using a drone to propose?" Park Min-hwan was actually startled, because none of this was his plan. He never imagined his proposal would be so grand. But outwardly, he pretended to be calm and collected. He acted like all of this was a piece of cake for him. Then Kang Ji-won deliberately said to him that even without all of this, a simple proposal would have made her very happy. Because the simple proposal in my past life was a second-hand engagement ring set that Park Min-hwan bought. This life was supposed to follow the same path. But Ji Hyuk's appearance changed the original trajectory. He called Park Min-hwan to his office. Using the Kim team leader incident as a reason, he said the company wanted to show appreciation to Kang Ji-won. They would provide her with a villa on her birthday. Park Min-hwan found it strange, because the company usually only provides apartments. But this time, they generously provided a villa. However, for Park Min-hwan, this is a perfect opportunity to propose, to declare his sovereignty. He revealed this surprise. However, he didn't know that Kang Ji-won had been waiting for this surprise. That's why Ji Hyuk provided him with the villa and drone. Everything is proceeding according to their plan. Kang Ji-won thought that now Sumin would try every means to steal Park Min-hwan away. But what surprised her was that Sumin was so persistent with her. Sumin came to make amends with Kang Ji-won. Her apology reminded Kang Ji-won of a scene from her past life. Looking at Sumin trying to please her, and then remembering her vicious words from her past life, Kang Ji-won felt a chill. She couldn't understand why Sumin, who clearly hated her, was pretending to this extent. She didn't want to say more and turned to leave, but Sumin went straight to the water's edge. and jumped into the river after saying that. Meanwhile, Ji-hyuk on the other side heard the sound and rushed over. And Kang Ji-won also jumped in. Soo-min had to live. Her fate had to be transferred. But as soon as she grabbed Soo-min pulled her down. When Ji-hyuk arrived, Kang Ji-won had already brought Soo-min up. What had just happened showed Kang Ji-won a side of Soo-min she'd never seen before. Kang Ji-won explained that Soo-min had accidentally slipped and fallen into the water. But Park Min-hwan narcissistically thought Soo-min. She jumped in because she couldn't cope. Seeing Ji-hyuk bring Kang Ji-won hot cocoa, he immediately and attentively covered her with a blanket. But upon returning to the room, he saw Soo-min under the covers. Soo-min was in a good mood, because Kang Ji-won jumped into the water to save her today. So she was happy. Tempted by Soo-min, Park Min-hwan slept with her again. At that time, downstairs, Kang Ji-won told Ji-hy the truth. Soo-min didn't slip. She jumped in front of her. She only now realizes she may not have known Soo-min at all. She had made things too simple. Kang Ji-won thought Park Min-hwan was trash, and that young Soo-min coveted her possessions. So just let them get married. Just become happy yourself. But this is not the case. Today Soo-min grabbed her arm in the water. Want to pull her deeper. And he showed a scary smile. Ji-ha felt the panic in Kang Ji-won's heart. He held Kang Ji-won's hand comfortingly and told her not to be afraid. At this time, Yoo Hee-yeon sleepily came out to get a drink of water. The two immediately hid behind a pillar to prevent Yoo Hee-yeon from seeing them. To comfort Kang Ji-won, Ji-hyuk took her out to sea on a yacht. Whenever Ji-hyuk felt lost and didn't know what to do, he would come here. After quietly clearing his head, he would, gaining the strength to take another step forward. If Soo-min showed a side of herself she never had before, then it means the current Kang Ji-won is not so easy to deal with. The next day, Kang Ji-won came to the company. She deliberately showed off her wedding ring in front of everyone. She wanted to announce to the world that Park Min-hwan proposed to her. In the elevator, Kang Ji-won's hand accidentally touched Ji-hyuk's. It reminded her of their hug last night. She was starting to develop feelings for Ji-hyuk. On the rooftop, Kang Ji-won told Ji-hyuk that her public announcement of the engagement was a calculated move to prepare for breaking it off. Once everything is revealed, Park Min-hwan's career will suffer a major blow. Kang Ji-won was already making changes. I won't be soft-hearted again. Then she asked Ji-hyuk if he wanted to go to the department store on the weekend. This would be her first and last time emptying Park Min-hwan's pockets. Unfortunately, Ji-hyuk had a business trip to Japan that day. He couldn't see this good show. Back at the company, Kang Ji-won, in front of everyone, said that Park Min-hwan thought she had done a lot. She shouldn't have higher expectations. However, Yoo Hee-yeon started to help unexpectedly after hearing that. She said a good man would help his girlfriend buy a set of clothes and a bag before marriage. She said a good man would help a girl buy a set of clothes and a bag before marriage. After saying that, Yoo Hee-yeon was about to spread this news. Both of them were put on the spot by Yoo Hee-yeon. They could only force a smile. Went home in the evening. Soo-min suddenly came to find Kang Ji-won while she was tidying up. She brought Kang Ji-won a birthday present. The present was a pair of shoes. But in her past life, Kang Ji-won had given these shoes to Soo-min. It seems Kang Ji-won's fate is slowly changing. Seeing Kang Ji-won's unmoved reaction, Soo-min placed the shoes in the room. Then she prepared a wedding gift for Kang Ji-won. She signed Kang Ji-won up for a weekend cooking class at the department store's cultural center, using the excuse that she's getting married soon but can't cook. She signed her up for the department store's weekend cooking class at the cultural center. She wants to go with Kang Ji-won. It seems like Soo-min is considering Kang Ji-won, but actually, she wants Kang Ji-won to embarrass herself in front of Park Min-hwan's mother, because in her past life, Park Min-hwan's mother took that cooking class. Kang Ji-won takes the opportunity to reconcile with Soo-min. Soo-min is very grateful that Kang Ji-won forgave her, and she said she wouldn't disappoint Kang Ji-won again. After Soo-min left, Kang Ji-won looked at the shoes. She knew she didn't have the talent for acting. Even knowing it was bait, she had to pretend to take the bait. It was really exhausting. On the weekend, Soo-min took Kang Ji-won to a cooking class. I saw Park Min-hwan's mother arguing loudly with a staff member over parking fees. Still angry, she then saw Kang Ji-won sitting in her usual seat. She immediately threw Kang Ji-won's bag and told her to leave. Kang Ji-won tried to argue with her, but Soo-min apologized to Park Min-hwan's mother and pulled Kang Ji-won away. During class, seeing Soo-min's quick and skillful knife skills, Park Min-hwan's mother praised her again. Soo-min then took the opportunity to say she enjoyed cooking. Then, seeing Kang Ji-won's slow and steady movements, she sarcastically said, "With such slow movements, will your family be able to eat dinner tomorrow?" At this time, the teacher came to Park Min-hwan's mother's side. Her expression changed instantly, immediately transforming into a little woman. She said coquettishly that some people simply can't cook. They're only here to seduce men. However, the class ended. Kang Ji-won's dish received the teacher's praise. Soo-min and Park Min-hwan's mother looked at her in disbelief. Actually, Kang Ji-won really couldn't cook at that time. But she was reborn. This is all thanks to her previous life's mother-in-law's strict training. Although she thought this in her heart, she still didn't want to admit that Kang Ji-won could cook. She thought it only looked good. The taste was certainly average, but after taking a bite, she couldn't help but take another. It was exactly the flavor she liked. It's exactly the same as the teacher's. Soo-min originally thought that, with Kang Ji-won as a foil, Park Min-hwan's mother would like her. Unexpectedly, Kang Ji-won still stole the spotlight. Afterwards, as they were leaving, they happened to run into Park Min-hwan, who had arrived. Kang Ji-won deliberately arranged to meet him here. Then she told young Soo-min that Park Min-hwan had bought her an outfit to meet his parents, and invited Soo-min to go along. Soo-min then turned her gaze to Park Min-hwan, while Kang Ji-won took the opportunity to put her arm around Park Min-hwan's, asking when he would meet her parents. Park Min-hwan looked at Soo-min nervously, not knowing how to answer. Soo-min said she had a prior engagement and couldn't accompany them. If she had known Park Min-hwan would be there, she would never have made other plans. Before leaving, she suddenly grabbed Kang Ji-won's arm. She said she was alive because of Kang Ji-won. After Soo-min left, Kang Ji-won went on a shopping spree. She was determined to max out Park Min-hwan's credit card today, to make him reluctantly pay. Kang Ji-won told the shop assistant that they were getting married, and that she was going to meet her future mother-in-law. But his mother-in-law has high standards, so the shop assistant recommended things frantically. Then Kang Ji-won began a pleasant shopping experience, while Park Min-hwan was a walking wallet, following behind, lifelessly paying. Looking at the overflowing shopping bags, Park Min-hwan felt like crying. He didn't expect that Ji-won, whom he casually asked to buy things for, would actually buy everything. After Park Min-hwan's big hemorrhage today, he calculated the cost of the meal with his parents and asked Kang Ji-won to pay. Just then, Baek Eun-ho called. He immediately had an idea. Knowing that he was Kang Ji-won's classmate who runs a restaurant, he immediately snatched Kang Ji-won's phone. Before Baek Eun-ho could speak, he introduced himself first. Then he said that Kang Ji-won was about to meet his parents. If I could eat at a restaurant owned by a friend, it would be very meaningful. He even asked about discounts. Baek Eun-ho hung up the phone with a dumbfounded expression. He originally called Kang Ji-won because Yi Ji and the others wanted to apologize for bullying Kang Ji-won before. So he asked Baek Eun-ho to contact Kang Ji-won, who knew he couldn't even speak to Kang Ji-won, before Park Min-hwan snatched her away. Soon after, Kang Ji-won called. She told Baek Eun-ho not to mind what Park Min-hwan said, but Baek Eun-ho decided to treat them. After all, Kang Ji-won was his first love. He wanted to do one last thing for Kang Ji-won. He thought Kang Ji-won was really getting married. Little did he know what shocking scene awaited him. After Ji Hyuk returned from a business trip to Japan, he went straight to Kang Ji-won's front door. He had prepared a birthday gift for Kang Ji-won, but he didn't know how to give it to her. As he was pondering, Kang Ji-won suddenly appeared. He quickly hid the gift behind him. When Kang Ji-won asked him why he was there, Ji Hyuk no longer hides his true feelings. Because I miss you. Seeing Ji Hyuk looking so troubled, Kang Ji-won asks him what's wrong. Ji Hyuk had never thought about what he wanted to be, because it was decided for him from birth, so he only studied and strived for the UK. When Kang Ji-won asked him what he wanted to be, he wanted to be Kang Ji-won's support, but he would die in a car accident 10 years later. So, for him, it was impossible. When Kang Ji-won was reborn, she was also confused and didn't know what to do. But she decided not to be bullied anymore. So she started her counterattack with spicy pork. After that, she knew what she should do. That is, to do what she likes. The day for the parents to meet has finally arrived. Park Min-hwan's mother plans to be 30 minutes late. She wants her precious son to wait for her. She feels that her son has been taken away by a worthless woman, and she is furious. Park Min-hwan takes the opportunity to ask his mother if she will really buy him a house. What's the budget? But his mother avoids the question. Soo-min suddenly texted. She was at Park Min-hwan's doorstep. Park Min-hwan immediately ran out. Soo-min deliberately provoked Park Min-hwan on the day he was meeting his parents. She thought he wouldn't be able to resist her, and Park Min-hwan fell for it. His restless heart was rekindled. By the time he and Soo-min arrived at the restaurant, he thought he was late, but no one had come. Just as he was anxiously urging Kang Ji-won, his parents walked in. While Kang Ji-won deliberately appeared a little late, her smoky attire shocked the three of them. Park Min-hwan's mother never imagined that Kang Ji-won would be her future daughter-in-law. She said, with malicious intent, that Kang Ji-won's parents had passed away. She probably didn't receive a good upbringing, but this lifetime's Kang Ji-won wouldn't let her manipulate him. So she directly replied, her father passed away when she was 23. She received a very thorough upbringing. However, her mother left home when she was 14. Therefore, she wasn't influenced by her mother. Her mother didn't expect her son to bring such a complicated girl. Park Min-hwan sensed his mother's anger and immediately defended Kang Ji-won, saying she was well-behaved and sensible. He quietly questioned Kang Ji-won about the eagle wing decoration, asking why she wasn't wearing the clothes he bought her. Kang Ji-won planned to wear them on a special occasion, but she took out that expensive bag and deliberately showed it off in front of Park Min-hwan's mother. This action thoroughly angered Park Min-hwan's mother. At the same time, Ji Hyuk signed a pet cat management trust contract. From now on, no matter what happens, the orange cat will be well taken care of in this house. The chairman wondered where he was going. Otherwise, why would he suddenly entrust the orange cat to a trust? He also asked the chairman for a favor. It's not explained here, but it should be related to Kang Ji-won. He will definitely protect Kang Ji-won until the end. Meanwhile, Kang Ji-won is being lectured by Park Min-hwan's mother. She directly stated that she dislikes Kang Ji-won. But if Kang Ji-won sincerely tries to change, she reluctantly agreed. Kang Ji-won agreed. Then they began to indoctrinate Kang Ji-won on the important role of women in family life. She must not only serve her husband, but also raise the children well. She must make breakfast for Park Min-hwan every day. And they should have 3 or 4 children. Kang Ji-won accepted everything. She also requested that Kang Ji-won have a medical checkup before the wedding, to see if she had any problems. And she planned to resume the ancestral rites, and have Kang Ji-won prepare for them. Finally, she reminded Kang Ji-won of a few important things. She must sincerely serve her elders, respect and serve her husband, and properly raise her children. And at work, I need to appear shrewd and capable. Everything is developing as Park Min-hwan hoped. After a successful marriage, not only will his mother buy him an apartment, but Kang Ji-won will also help him pay off his high-interest loans. Just as he was feeling happy, Kang Ji-won suddenly said why she needed to go out to work. If she's going to do everything Park Min-hwan's mother asked, 24 hours a day wouldn't be enough. Then she corrected Park Min-hwan's mother's mistake during the ancestral rites. Because Kang Ji-won performs the rites for her father every year, she knew exactly what her mother had said wrong. However, Park Min-hwan's mother retorted, saying it was improper for a daughter to perform the rites for her parents. Furthermore, she said it was her father's fault for only having daughters. This angered Kang Ji-won. I asked her if she was a judge. What right does she have to convict her father? So she went straight out the door, saying she wouldn't get married. Park Min-hwan didn't expect things to turn out like this. He immediately chased after her, questioning what Kang Ji-won was doing. Park Min-hwan didn't expect Kang Ji-won to finally break up with him. He used the taekwondo he'd learned to throw Park Min-hwan down. Park Min-hwan went crazy again after Kang Ji-won broke up with him. He didn't expect Kang Ji-won to dare break up with him again, especially when he desperately needed money. Park Min-hwan's mother thought it was all her son's fault. How could he bring such a ill-mannered woman home to disgrace her? And the originally well-behaved Kang Ji-won suddenly changed drastically. Park Min-hwan didn't know what happened. He was driven out by his insane mother. He blamed it all on Kang Ji-won. So he angrily went to confront Kang Ji-won. But when he opened the door, he found a muscular fitness trainer inside. Park Min-hwan's anger instantly vanished. He thought he had gone to the wrong place. Only then did I learn from the man that Kang Ji-won had already moved out. At the same time, Yoo Hee-yeon and Yoo Ji-hook arrived with gifts. To celebrate Kang Ji-won moving into her new home, Kang Ji-won had already planned everything before meeting Park Min-hwan's parents. She moved away from her old place to start over, and her new apartment was Ji-hook's. Yoo Hee-yeon felt it was very inconvenient living in the same building as her boss. Little did she know, her brother was deeply in love with Kang Ji-won. But seeing Ji-hyuk help Kang Ji-won organize books, Yoo Hee-yeon sensed an unusual atmosphere between them. She guessed that her brother's broken engagement might be related to Kang Ji-won. However, Kang Ji-won was already engaged, so she reminded her brother not to have any other thoughts about Kang Ji-won. Ji-hyuk didn't want to say more. He just told Yoo Hee-yeon to go home. But then, turning around, I was afraid of causing trouble for Kang Ji-won. So I came out again to explain. I stated that I had no relationship with Kang Ji-won. The next day, arriving at the company, Park Min-hwan saw Kang Ji-won and prepared to demand an explanation. But as soon as he opened his mouth, Kang Ji-won slapped him several times, publicly humiliating Park Min-hwan. His colleagues stared at him in shock. Yuron quickly came over to try and take Kang Ji-won away, to let her calm down. At that moment, Soo-min happened to walk in. Park Min-hwan quickly signaled her not to come closer. Meanwhile, Kang Ji-won took a pair of red underwear from her bag, and placed it directly on Min-hwan's head. Kang Ji-won asked him whose it was. It's Kang Ji-won's in his car. Already feeling guilty, Park Min-hwan immediately thought of his and Soo-min's encounter in the car. Then, without further thought, he questioned Ji-won about how she could casually search his car. But this statement directly confirmed his infidelity. Meanwhile, Soo-min on the other side was completely baffled, because she was certain she hadn't left any of her underwear in Park Min-hwan's car. Kang Ji-won finally vented her past grievances. She directly took off her engagement ring and threw it away. Then, the news of Park Min-hwan's infidelity spread instantly throughout the various departments of the company. It became the juicy gossip everyone was talking about. Park Min-hwan thought Kang Ji-won's drastic change in personality yesterday was because of his infidelity, and he didn't think he had done anything wrong. But he accused Soo-min of not taking care of her own things. Soo-min said it wasn't hers. Kang Ji-won used Park Min-hwan's guilt to make him confess. This severely damaged his career. After calming down, Park Min-hwan thought about the matter. Because Kang Ji-won didn't ride in his car yesterday, how could Kang Ji-won's underwear? He wanted to ask Kang Ji-won for clarification, but Soo-min stopped him. Soo-min thinks no matter where Kang Ji-won comes from, the fact remains that Park Min-hwan's infidelity cannot be changed. This statement angered Park Min-hwan. His inner rage intensified. Meanwhile, the disciplined team leader Kim returned to the company. He knew about Park Min-hwan's affair. He even mocked Kang Ji-won for lacking attractiveness to men. Kang Ji-won completely ignored him. At this time, team leader Kim didn't know what heartbreaking scene he was about to witness. Soo-min comforted Park Min-hwan. He just fell in love, following his heart. So don't mind others' opinions. They absolutely cannot waver. Unexpectedly, Park Min-hwan pushed her away. He said she wasn't marriage material. Besides her looks, she had nothing to offer. Sleeping with her was just a game. He didn't expect everything to be seen by the section chief. The section chief didn't expect that the person he liked would be treated like that by Park Min-hwan. He went crazy and tried to fight Park Min-hwan. And because of his outburst, everyone in the company knows Min-hwan's affair was with young Soo-min. The news instantly blew up in the company. It spread wildly on online forums as well. Just when Park Min-hwan didn't know what to do, he lit another fuse. The supermarket food sampling event he and Soo-min were in charge of earlier caused an accident because of the lack of allergen warning signs. Julung questioned him about why he hadn't reported the incident. Park Min-hwan hastily explained it was the supermarket employee's fault. He and Soo-min only left temporarily. The employee immediately started the food tasting event. At these words, his colleagues instantly understood what it meant for the two of them to leave at the same time. Soo-min's explanation was unconvincing. Everyone shared their opinions on the matter in the company email. The chairman had no choice but to set up some forbidden words. He also informed Park Min-hwan that he would be transferred to another department. Soo-min, however, was denied her permanent position and dismissed directly. Soo-min couldn't accept this fact. She anxiously called Kang Ji-won, but she couldn't get through. Seeing online comments criticizing her, she immediately took out pen and paper and began a shameless act, preparing to clear his name. Although Kim returned to the company, because of the ready meal project and his insufficient work performance, he was demoted to acting team leader. Meanwhile, because Euron successfully completed the ready meal project, she was promoted to team leader. Kim returned to his office. She was full of resentment towards Euron. She loudly ordered Euron to tidy up her things. But then Kang Ji-won stopped Euron from doing so. At that moment, Euron was suffering from a stomachache. She had suffered from stomachaches many times before. Actually, her life was very similar to Kang Ji-won's past life. Her husband idled away his days without working, and he neglected their child. She had to work and take care of her child. Her body started to have problems under the pressure. But she didn't have time for a checkup. She just endured it. After she was promoted to section chief, Euron told the chairman that the ready meal project was Kang Ji-won's idea, and she did most of the work, from the initial idea and planning to the execution. If she were to be promoted to section chief based on this, she thought that person should be Kang Ji-won. After saying those words, Euron finally felt much lighter. Because when the team leader ruled out Kang Ji-won, she hadn't stood by Kang Ji-won, which made her feel very guilty. She apologized to Kang Ji-won. Kang Ji-won thought that the work was done by everyone together. Euron's promotion to team leader was deserved. Just as the two were clearing up their misunderstanding, Yoo Hee-yeon hurried over and told them that something happened on the first floor. A couple who had allergies in the supermarket before. At this time, they are making a fuss downstairs to find Kang Ji-won. Because there is an article written by the name Kang Ji-won on the internet. Kang Ji-won came forward to identify himself. Unexpectedly, the woman suddenly slapped her. Kang Ji-won doesn't know what happened, just offered to look at their cell phones. I saw the article posted online. Kang Ji-won immediately recognized it as Soo-min's imitation of her own handwriting. She told the woman that the handwriting was hers, but that she hadn't written the article. However, someone else's handwriting was exactly the same as hers. At this point, Soo-min sensed something was wrong, and was about to run away when Kang Ji-won shouted, stopping her in her tracks. Kang Ji-won pulled Soo-min directly in front of the couple. Then she took out her phone from her bag. She opened the account registered under her own name. She found the article. The couple realized they had the wrong person, and the man recognized Soo-min as the person who had come to the hospital with Park Min-hwan that day. With this statement, Park Min-hwan immediately hid his work card. The colleagues around me suddenly lost their composure. Unexpectedly, Seo-min not only stole Kang Ji-won's boyfriend, he also opened an account in her name to defend himself. It's so shameless to the extreme. Seo-min knew that there was no room for maneuver in the matter. Then she knelt on the ground and begged the couple to forgive her, because things are developing in an extremely bad direction. She was momentarily muddle-headed and did something excessive, but she absolutely didn't mean to insult either of them. After the truth came to light, the woman apologized to Kang Ji-won. Soo-min also begged Kang Ji-won for forgiveness. But her following words not only surprised Kang Ji-won greatly, but also frightened Park Min-hwan so much that he fell to the ground. She said she was pregnant. Park Min-hwan also heard this news. I just want to get myself drunk. Let all this become a dream. He thought Kang Ji-won had gone crazy, and Soo-min was also going crazy. At this time, the loan shark's collection messages kept arriving one after another. He felt his life was completely ruined. The drunk Park Min-hwan passed out after being hit. When he woke up again, he found himself tied up by two people. He thought they were debt collectors, but the two were actually Ji Hyok's juniors. It was all orchestrated by Ji Hyok. His goal was to expedite the marriage of Park Min-hwan and Soo-min. Under their intimidation, Park Min-hwan said that although he didn't have money, his parents would buy him a house if he got married. He'll sell the house for cash and repay the debt immediately. Park Min-hwan was released. As soon as he got home, he asked his mother if she could buy him a house right away. But his mother said that she would consider it when he gets married and gives her a grandchild. She might consider it then. To repay the debt, Park Min-hwan knelt and begged his mother to buy him a house immediately. Unexpectedly, he was driven out of the house by his mother. With no other choice, Park Min-hwan went to Soo-min's house. I apologize for my previous excessive words, but Soo-min is still holding a grudge against Kang Ji-won. Because she said she was pregnant, and Kang Ji-won didn't even respond. That's because Kang Ji-won knows Park Min-hwan is infertile. Soo-min couldn't possibly be pregnant. She must be planning something. Soo-min thought Kang Ji-won might ignore her out of anger. But when she saw others being so, if things get excessive, he'll definitely side with himself. Because that's always been Kang Ji-won's way. Meanwhile, Park Min-hwan proposed marriage to Soo-min. On the other hand, the news of Park Min-hwan and Soo-min's engagement spread like wildfire through the company. Meanwhile, the supermarket couple were making a scene at the office. One of their spats even reached the chairman's ears. However, after the managing director's explanation, the chairman learned that Kang Ji-won was a victim in this incident. So he decided to meet her. Actually, he wanted to see what was so special about the girl his grandson liked. And what made her so exceptional. Kang Ji-won, in turn, was poised and composed in front of the chairman. The two of them chatted pleasantly. Meanwhile, Ji-hyuk learned that Kang Ji-won had been called to his grandfather's house. He was afraid his grandfather would say something unpleasant to Kang Ji-won. He hurried over. Seeing Kang Ji-won in a good mood, his heart was put at ease. Kang Ji-won told him that the chairman didn't say anything, telling him not to worry. He even felt that the chairman was very amiable. Meanwhile, on the other side, Soo-min was buying 2 items at a second-hand market: pregnancy test strips and ultrasound photos. She accepted Park Min-hwan's proposal. She thought starting a family with Park Min-hwan would be a brand new beginning. Little did she know, a disaster awaited her. Now Park Min-hwan and Soo-min are about to get married. So Kang Ji-won should also have a new beginning. But she hasn't seen them get married with her own eyes. Kang Ji-won still couldn't rest easy. But Ji-hyuk told her that Park Min-hwan and Soo-min would definitely get married. Because Park Min-hwan urgently needed a large sum of money. He had checked Park Min-hwan's financial situation. Not only was his stock credit very poor, but he had also borrowed a lot of high-interest loans. Therefore, he was under immense pressure to repay his debts. He had also recently been demoted to a regular employee. My salary will also be cut. Kang Ji-won is puzzled as to how Ji-hyuk found out about all this. But Ji-hyuk did all this for Kang Ji-won. Ji-hyuk took Kang Ji-won to a shooting range. He's a man with a lot on his plate these days. Whenever he has something to do, he comes here and pulls the trigger. When he thinks of the bullet already flying, there's no turning back. Then go do it. After thinking like that, even if it's something he doesn't want to do, he can do it. On Christmas Day, Yoo Hee-yeon visited Kang Ji-won's house. She thought that if her ex-boyfriend was happy with someone else first, Kang Ji-won would lose. So she hoped that Kang Ji-won would become happier than them soon. I just wanted to set Kang Ji-won up on a blind date. So I asked her what type she liked. When Kang Ji-won heard that, she immediately thought of Ji-hyuk. Then Baek Eun-ho called. Kang Ji-won wanted to call him back later, but Yoo Hee-yeon answered for her, because she knew Baek Eun-ho liked Kang Ji-won. I just wanted to create opportunities for them. Baek Eun-ho wanted to take Kang Ji-won out for Christmas. Kang Ji-won thought Yoo Hee-yeon would also go. But after Kang Ji-won left, Yoo Hee-yeon, who had a date, appeared at her brother's house. After Ji-hyuk found out that Kang Ji-won went on a date with Baek Eun-ho, he ate ice cream with a displeased look on his face. Yoo Hee-yeon found it strange. Because Ji-hyuk said Baek Eun-ho should be a good man. She decided to help him get together with Kang Ji-won. She thought she did a great job. This made Ji-hyuk increasingly annoyed. It seems even a big tub of ice cream couldn't suppress the jealousy burning in Ji-hyuk's heart. At this time, Yoo Hee-yeon said that Kang Ji-won seemed to hope to spend Christmas at home with her family. The house is filled with sparkling light bulbs, plus the presents under the Christmas tree. Ji-hyuk, hearing all this, starts preparing for Kang Ji-won again. At the same time, Baek Eun-ho takes Kang Ji-won to the ice rink. But Kang Ji-won keeps thinking about Ji-hyuk. She only now realizes that Ji-hyuk has captured her heart. She's completely fallen for Ji-hyuk. Then Baek Eun-ho took Kang Ji-won home. He confessed his feelings to Kang Ji-won. But Kang Ji-won reiterated that he was truly just a good friend to her. And that she would also be a good friend to Baek Eun-ho. Baek Eun-ho understood Kang Ji-won's meaning. From then on, they would be good friends to each other. Meanwhile, Ji Hyuk, who was waiting for Kang Ji-won to come home, was betrayed by a sneeze. He was stood up by Kang Ji-won. Ji Hyuk explained he just went out for some fresh air. But Kang Ji-won clearly saw that he had been out in the cold for a long time. Just as Ji Hyuk was leaving, Kang Ji-won said she had something to tell him. Ji Hyuk took Kang Ji-won back to his house. As soon as Kang Ji-won entered, she saw the Christmas atmosphere of her dreams. Kang Ji-won told him that she went on a date with Baek Eun-ho today. Although he's a very nice person, her heart belongs to someone else. Someone she thought she knew completely, but actually didn't know at all. And that person is the one who knows her best. Kang Ji-won finally confessed her feelings. She confessed to Ji Hyuk, and Ji Hyuk faced his heart and stopped running away. After Kang Ji-won's confession, Ji Hyuk couldn't suppress his feelings and responded. But he thought about what was going to happen anyway. That he would be in a car accident 10 years later. And couldn't give Kang Ji-won the stability she wanted. He instantly regained his composure. Ji Hyuk believed he wasn't someone who could be loved. He couldn't give Kang Ji-won happiness. So he cruelly pushed her away. Even though Kang Ji-won said she wouldn't regret it, he still closed his heart. The next day, Kang Ji-won. Ji Hyuk didn't come to work. Before she could think much about it, she heard team leader Kim, who had become acting manager, lecturing Juran, who had become a team leader. He said that as members of management, they must be the first to arrive at the office. Then, just like before, she acted recklessly in front of section chief Yang. She clearly forgot that she was now a proxy. Kang Ji-won felt that Yuran couldn't keep tolerating it. She had to point out Agent Kim's problematic attitude and clarify their hierarchical relationship. Before Yuran could answer, her husband called, telling her to come home by 5 o'clock no matter what. Kang Ji-won heard the helplessness in Yuran's words. It was exactly like her past life, and Kang Ji-won knew that everything was being done by Yuran alone. In the end, she would definitely fall. So she advised Yuran not to be afraid of her husband being scolded, to ask her parents for help. Then, from Yuran's mouth, Kang Ji-won learned that the minister had called in sick due to a severe cold. So he took the day off. After work, Kang Ji-won went home, cooked some porridge, and arrived at Ji Hyuk's doorstep. After hesitating, she pressed the doorbell. But there was no answer. Just as she was about to leave, she heard a sound coming from inside, and the orange cat scream. Kang Ji-won quickly used the password Ji Hyuk had told her to open the door. As soon as she came in, she saw Ji Hyuk collapsed on the floor. Ji Hyuk was running a high fever. Just as she was about to take him to the hospital, Ji Hyuk drowsily opened his eyes. Ji Hyuk thought he was hallucinating. He spoke the words he'd been keeping bottled up inside to Kang Ji-won. He wondered if Kang Ji-won still felt uneasy, like she was swaying. He hoped she wouldn't feel like she was still on that boat. These were all things Kang Ji-won had confided in him when they first met. Kang Ji-won hadn't expected Ji Hyuk to be the boy who had been with her that day. She also understood why Ji Hyuk wanted to become a land surveyor. When Ji Hyuk saw Kang Ji-won again, he recognized her. He has liked Kang Ji-won ever since. Kang Ji-won finally learned of Ji Hyuk's true feelings. At the same time, Yoo Hee-yeon still didn't know that her brother was already with his benefactor. She was still trying hard to match Baek Eun-ho and Kang Ji-won. And she specifically sent them 2 musical tickets to create opportunities for them. Unexpectedly, Baek Eun-ho suddenly burst into tears. He told Yoo Hee-yeon that he could only be Kang Ji-won's friend. That night, Kang Ji-won carefully looked after Ji Hyuk. The next morning, Ji Hyuk opened his eyes and saw Kang Ji-won lying beside him. He looked at her in disbelief. He realized that everything from last night wasn't a dream. Ji Hyuk remembered what he had told Kang Ji-won last night. He also wanted to push Kang Ji-won away, but Kang Ji-won hugged him tightly. Actually, after hearing Ji Hyuk's feelings yesterday, Kang Ji-won felt that she might have come back for this. They were finally together. Next is their sweet daily life as a couple. Both of them couldn't contain their joy. They ran into each other in the elevator right after parting ways. He couldn't suppress the upward curve of his lips anymore. Ji Hyuk texted Kang Ji-won. He asked her what she was planning to do on the weekend. Unexpectedly, he was charmed by Kang Ji-won. Park Min-hwan saw Kang Ji-won leave and chased after her to talk. Because Kang Ji-won always treated him like an invisible man, making everyone feel awkward. Park Min-hwan wanted to say more, but he shut his mouth when he saw the chairman. With no other choice, he went to the storage room to vent his anger. He didn't understand why things had turned out this way, but he had to get married to pay off his debts. So he had to introduce Soo-min to his mother. His mother wasn't pleased with Soo-min. If Park Min-hwan hadn't lied about graduating from Korea University and said she would return to work after having a child, her mother would never have agreed to the marriage. Soo-min also tried very hard to please Park Min-hwan's mother. Coupled with her performance in the cooking class, Park Min-hwan's mother quickly approved of her. The moment Park Min-hwan's mother left, Soo-min let go of Park Min-hwan's arm. I questioned him about why he said he graduated from a Korean university. Park Min-hwan thought it was for her own good, because Kang Ji-won is a graduate of a Korean university. If he said she graduated from an unknown university, his mother definitely wouldn't like her. After Soo-min passed her mother's inspection, Park Min-hwan would arrange a meeting between both sets of parents. Then they could start preparing for the wedding as soon as possible. Soon, they decided on their wedding venue. Ji Hyuk investigated their wedding. It will be held at the Crown Wedding Banquet Hall. That's where Kang Ji-won got married in her past life, and that's the worst possible place she could imagine. Ji Hyuk and Kang Ji-won had a delightful date. This was also the first time Kang Ji-won felt relaxed enough to visit the beach. Ji Hyuk kissed Kang Ji-won in the sunset. At this moment, they both felt happiness. Meanwhile, on the other side, Yuran, taking Kang Ji-won's advice, stopped being so accommodating. She told her parents about her family problems. Her father gave her husband a stern talking to. Her husband had previously quit his job, and they felt that in this day and age, it didn't matter who was the breadwinner. His father-in-law asked him to work at his own steakhouse, and at the company. Yuran also clarified the superior-subordinate relationship with Agent Kim. Agent Kim sat in the section chief's seat again, reminiscing about his past. The new team member, mistaking him for the section chief, greeted him. Seeing Yuran approaching, Agent Kim arrogantly told her to treat his position well. He would soon be back here. Unable to watch any longer, Kang Ji-won subtly signaled to Yuran. Then Yuran asked Agent Kim when he would submit the proposal. She also said his work was terrible. Agent Kim was instantly speechless. He went outside alone to contemplate. Min-hwan came to comfort him. Agent Kim thought only men could truly understand men. So he invited Min-hwan for drinks that night. Who knew Min would blurt it out? That Director Yang's father was treating everyone to steak tonight. Realizing her mistake, she quickly corrected herself, but Park Min-hwan, who supposedly had something to do at home, appeared at the steakhouse that night. He even gave everyone a spectacularly awkward performance. To avoid an awkward silence, Yuran quickly started to clap and praise him. At this time, Julon's father brought out top-grade beef to celebrate his daughter's promotion to section chief. He brought out top-grade beef. Looking at Julon's parents, who love her so much, Kang Ji-won felt very happy. This was also what she had always longed for in her heart. Meanwhile, the chairman, having received Julon's invitation, also arrived at the steakhouse. He saw a couple as soon as he got out of the car. A man and a woman emerged furtively from the corner. Upon seeing Julon, he realized that the man was Julon's husband, and when the man learned that the other person was his wife's superior, he immediately nervously touched his mouth. Julon had her husband greet his colleagues. Seeing the chairman staring at him, he offered a brief greeting and quickly left. Park Min-hwan also came out. They really are alike. After the wedding venue was decided, Park Min-hwan's mother took them to see a house. Park Min-hwan thought he was finally getting a house, but his mother wasn't buying him a house at all. She was renting him one. Next, Soo-min also witnessed. They encountered the future mother-in-law's extreme stinginess. She wanted to go to Hawaii for their honeymoon, but Park Min-hwan's mother generously booked Bulguksa Temple domestically for them. The reason was that Soo-min was pregnant and not suitable for flying. The wedding jewelry also seemed to be bought from a store that looked like a general store. As for the wedding dress, she chose it for Soo-min according to her own preferences, completely ignoring her feelings. The wedding invitation was also made according to the older generation's aesthetic. Soo-min was speechless at Park Min-hwan's attitude, but to show off in front of Kang Ji-won, she remade an electronic wedding invitation and sent it to Kang Ji-won's phone. Seeing that the two were getting married, Kang Ji-won knew that everything was finally coming to an end. She immediately shared the news with Ji-hyuk. Unexpectedly, the next second, the entire company received an announcement. Everyone learned about Park Min-hwan and Soo-min's marriage. Park Min-hwan hadn't realized what had happened. When he saw it, he quickly found the chairman to ask him about the announcement. The chairman knew exactly who had sent the announcement, but he told Park Min-hwan that, normally, when an employee is getting married, an announcement is made and wedding gifts are given. This was driving Park Min-hwan crazy. The chairman knows Ji-hyuk likes Kang Ji-won, but he doesn't think Ji-hyuk is the type to interfere with Park Min-hwan and Jang Soo-min. Even if they are scum, it shouldn't concern Ji-hyuk. Then the chairman compared Ji-hyuk with Ji. Yuan showed the chairman photos from her date. Grandpa didn't expect his grandson to smile like that. The chairman was also moved to see Ji-hyuk show that kind of expression. He originally thought Ji-hyuk was very uninteresting, like a body without a soul. He didn't particularly want anything. He just kept suppressing his emotions. In his past life, he would have resigned. She probably also felt that Ji-hyuk had everything he needed, so he wasn't necessarily required. But in this life, she sensed that Ji-hyuk was also a living, breathing person, because his emotions were released. Returning home that night, Kang Ji-won learned that the announcement was posted by Ji-hyuk. Ji-hyuk thought they were too hateful. That's why he acted so childishly. Kang Ji-won now truly feels like someone is on his side. Park Min-hwan's marriage became known to the whole company. He took out all his anger on Soo-min. He questioned her if she was the one who sent the wedding invitation to the company. Soo-min was also completely bewildered. Park Min-hwan thought that everyone in the company knew about his affair with his girlfriend's best friend. Now they're actually getting married. How can he even face going to work? Soo-min doesn't understand why he's so angry. Marrying himself isn't such a terrible thing. His mother agrees with Soo-min. Actually, she mainly wants to get her wedding gifts back. Park Min-hwan's mother is afraid her crazed son will hurt her unborn grandchild. He quickly took Soo-min into the house and played prenatal music for her. He made her listen to it all before leaving. Soo-min had no choice but to comply. After all, she was the one who orchestrated this fake pregnancy. Soo-min's situation was a mess. Meanwhile, Kang Ji-won's situation was a stark contrast. She introduced Ji-hyuk to her father. I feel so happy every day. Kang Ji-won's return to work is coming soon. Ji-hyuk gave Kang Ji-won the birthday present he had prepared earlier. In his heart, Kang Ji-won deserves the best. They are going to attend Soo-min's wedding together. At the same time, Soo-min is forcefully hypnotizing herself. She won against Kang Ji-won. At this time, her mother-in-law came in and asked why her mother hadn't arrived yet. Soo-min didn't know how to answer when her mother rushed in. But this person wasn't Soo-min's mother at all. She was simply an actress Soo-min had hired. After her mother-in-law left, she specifically instructed the actress to remember and repeat the family information she had given her. Park Min-hwan, who was currently greeting guests, was flustered, and the appearance of Kang Ji-won made him extremely irritable. Kang Ji-won gave him an envelope. Park Min-hwan thought it was a gift and said he didn't want it. But his hand subconsciously took it and put it in his pocket. I couldn't help but say that Kang Ji-won is very beautiful. He wanted to say a few more words when he saw the necklace around Kang Ji-won's neck. Kang Ji-won was taken away by Ji-hyuk, who came next. And what he thought was a gift was actually a complaint. He was indicted. Meanwhile, Kang Ji-won found Soo-min. Seeing her dressed exactly like her past self, he smiled. He said, "You caught my bouquet." Soo-min didn't understand what Kang Ji-won meant. She thought Kang Ji-won wanted to catch her bouquet. But Kang Ji-won's next words unsettled her. Kang Ji-won said she was glad that Soo-min was able to take over the trash she had discarded. Before entering, Soo-min kept recalling what Kang Ji-won had just said. How could Park Min-hwan be the trash she had discarded? Although she had witnessed Park Min-hwan's volatile side, she still couldn't believe it. Kang Ji-won watched Soo-min going through her past life's fate, every step exactly the same as her own back then. She successfully got her best friend married to her husband. During the photo session, Yoo Hee-yeon pointed out that Soo-min and her mother didn't look alike at all. Could it be that she paid someone to pretend? But Kang Ji-won remembered that Soo-min's mother was still alive. So why would she do this? As she pondered this, Baek Eun-ho also arrived at the wedding. because Sumin had sent him an invitation. But with his arrival, the Rueji three-person group also appeared here. They directly stated that Sumin stole Kang Ji-won's boyfriend and then got married. As soon as these words came out, the guests were all agitated. Park Min-hwan felt ashamed, and actually left Sumin alone and ran away. Sumin questioned what they were doing. Rueji didn't answer. At this time, the mother-in-law stepped forward and asked who they were. The group of three went straight to greet the mother-in-law, and they introduced themselves. The three of them got revenge for Kang Ji-won. They caused a commotion at the wedding. Afterwards, Kang Ji-won and Ji-hyuk left first. Yoo Hee-yeon, because she gave a 1,001 gift, wanted to eat dinner before leaving. He invited Baek Eun-ho to join, but Baek Eun-ho asked her if she minded if he wanted to ask Yoo Hee-yeon out to eat. Yoo Hee-yeon was naturally very happy. At this moment, she suddenly remembered that Yeon was coming, but she didn't see her, because Yeon was hiding in the company warehouse at that time. Her cries happened to be heard by the chairman who appeared there. He asked Julon why she was here on the weekend. Julon told him she couldn't go home right now, because she hadn't yet composed herself. She couldn't let her daughter see her like this. The chairman urged her to be brave, but he learned that Julon had stomach cancer. Meanwhile, Kang Ji-won thought it was all over. Little did she know that her stomach cancer had metastasized to Julon. What surprised her even more was, Jiha's fiancé suddenly appeared before her. Although Jiha had unilaterally cancelled the engagement, Kang Ji-won felt she had interfered in someone else's relationship, that she had become the third party. So she immediately let go of Jiha's hand. Because when Kang Ji-won was a child, she thought her mother. She left home after arguing with her father. She also made her father apologize to her mother and bring her mother back. Unexpectedly, she later witnessed her mother forming a new family with another man. Her father was just sadly watching them from a distance. Only then did she realize that her mother had abandoned her and her father. In that small village, her mother left home for true love and it became a topic of casual conversation for everyone after meals. This also became a scar on Kang Ji-won's sensitive adolescence. A supermarket cashier accused Kang Ji-won of stealing after her wallet went missing. She said she was just like her mother. She felt she needed to behave even more properly to avoid gossip. It was then that Sumin appeared in her life, returning her wallet. However, she thought it was a second chance given by rebirth. Her life should have become happy. Who would have thought she would ruin someone else's relationship? Kang Ji-won returned home distraught. Before she could recover, she received a call from Yoo Hee-yeon. She learned that Duran had stomach cancer. Kang Ji-won collapsed onto the floor, weak with despair. She felt like she had briefly lived a happy dream. Now the dream is over. At the same time, Lara went before the chairman to express her unwillingness to break off her engagement with Ji-hyuk. Although they were forced into an engagement by their elders before, because Ji-hyuk was very cold, she never liked him as a man. Therefore, when Ji-hyuk said he wanted to break off the engagement, she immediately agreed. But now Ji-hyuk's sudden change has sparked her interest in him again. She knows very clearly who caused Ji-hyuk's change. She has investigated everything behind the scenes. That's why she specifically came back, because she felt that someone had taken what was hers. Meanwhile, on the other side, Sumin, on her honeymoon, is looking at Park Min-hwan with displeasure. This is very different from the honeymoon she had expected, but she quickly adjusted her attitude, because her focus wasn't on the honeymoon. It was on starting over after building a family and living a good life with Park Min-hwan. She said Park Min-hwan is the head of the household. Park Min-hwan felt that Sumin complained constantly from the moment they started printing wedding invitations. He felt she had many grievances. She didn't consider his feelings at all. But Sumin's friends caused a commotion at the wedding. But he didn't say anything to Sumin. Seeing Park Min-hwan like this, Sumin was reminded of Kang Ji-won's words at the wedding. She still comforted herself that Park Min-hwan wasn't trash discarded by Kang Ji-won. Little did she know that the next second, Park Min-hwan would throw her a bombshell. Park Min-hwan, in order to repay his high-interest loan, sublet the fully rented house his mother gave him to someone else. He obtained 360 million won. His friends are worried that his wife won't agree to live with his mother. Park Min-hwan thinks that since Sumin didn't pay anything, he doesn't need to consider her opinion. Just as he's feeling pleased with himself, Sumin catches him. To get away with it in front of his mother, He tells his mother that he was scammed by a rental agency. His mother flies into a rage and is about to go and confront the agency. But Park Min-hwan quickly stops her and said she had already solved it. Then, her mother blamed everything on Xiumin, thinking that men know nothing and that they need a good woman to guide them. She felt Xiumin wasn't good enough for their family, but with Xiumin's personality, how could she swallow her anger and let others bully her? So she directly fought back, saying she had money. At first, when Park Min-hwan heard this, he asked her, as a temporary employee, how could you have that kind of money? Unexpectedly, this question directly exposed, in front of his mother, that Soo-min was not a permanent employee. Then how did she return to work after giving birth? Soo-min said she had made a lot of money from stocks. She said she wasn't happy about how things turned out, and that she had done all the compromising in their marriage. She was about to continue complaining about Park Min-hwan's debt, but was stopped by Park Min-hwan. For the sake of her grandson, the mother-in-law had to stop. Afterwards, Park Min-hwan was in a good mood, exclaiming that marriage was pretty good. Someone was on his side, speaking up for him. Then he reassured Soo-min, saying that as long as the baby is born, his mother would definitely buy them a house. Who would have thought that one sentence from Soo-min would shock him? In order to prevent the fake pregnancy from being exposed, she directly told Park Min-hwan that she had a miscarriage. Hearing that the baby was gone, Park Min-hwan spat out his drink. Before he could react, his mother came in. She told Soo-min to clean the house before she returned. She felt her life was too hard. At her age, she still had to feed 2 more mouths. After her mother passed away, Park Min-hwan immediately asked Soo-min what she meant by her previous words. Soo-min said she had a miscarriage on the day he lost his phone. Park Min-hwan's tears flowed uncontrollably. He didn't know whether he was crying for her non-existent child or the house she was supposed to have. Soo-min, however, played the part completely. She deliberately took out the ultrasound photo sheet, bought from a second-hand market, in front of Park Min-hwan. She pretended to be heartbroken. Seeing Soo-min so upset, Park Min-hwan suddenly asked her about eating Wagyu beef for the baby back then. But the baby was already gone at that time. Meanwhile, on the other side, after Kang Ji-won learned that Yuran had stomach cancer, he bought a car to make it easier to take her to the hospital for checkups. Yuran needed to wait for surgery after her checkup. But because there were many people waiting in line, she had to wait a long time. Kang Ji-won understood Yuran's current mental state very well, so he told her she didn't need to pretend to be strong in front of him. Otherwise, she would definitely have psychological problems. After taking Juran home, Kang Ji-won arrived at the company, only to hear bad news. The chefs had suddenly cancelled their contracts, causing problems for the ready meal project. Yoo Hyun thought that since the ready meals were about to be launched, it was too late to say the product didn't meet their quality standards. It was clearly a deliberate act, and she suspected it was Agent Kim, because he has connections. He likes to work behind the scenes. Ji Hyuk called Kang Ji-won out on the pretext of work, because Kang Ji-won had been avoiding him. He could only explain it to her at the company. After getting a second chance, Kang Ji-won only planned to have Park Min-hwan and Soo-min married, and Ji Hyuk was an unexpected gift to her. His fiancé's sudden appearance left Kang Ji-won completely bewildered. Ji Hyuk told Kang Ji-won that he and URA were always going to end their relationship in a few years. He merely expedited the process, because there was never any love between them when they got engaged. It was simply because they had known each other since childhood that he thought he could marry her. Kang Ji-won wondered, is it possible to get married without love? Ji Hyuk stated that he could completely sever ties with his fiancée. It's because of his mother's influence from his childhood. This made Kang Ji-won unable to accept Ji Hyuk's explanation. Her mother abandoned her and her father after finding true love. Kang Ji-won believes that no matter what kind of relationship it is, once it begins, it should never be unilaterally ended without the consent of both parties. Ji Hyuk said nothing more. He only gave Kang Ji-won a business card. He had already invited a stomach cancer expert from the US to their company's cancer center. Yuran can have surgery soon, and this expert is actually Ji Hyuk, someone he'd been preparing for Kang Ji-won since his rebirth. Kang Ji-won, back in his seat, hadn't contacted Yuran yet when he received a call from URA. Kang Ji-won agreed to meet to apologize to URA. She didn't know Ji Hyuk was already engaged, so she won't meet him again. But Yura doesn't want to let it go. She thinks Kang Ji-won knew Ji-won was the heir to the UK group. That's why she abandoned her boyfriend of 7 years. Kang Ji-won didn't want to explain and left. Who knew she would suddenly change her expression? She thought that someone insignificant like Kang Ji-won was being greedy, but acting aloof. Knowing everything, she still put on an air of superiority. She even provocatively told Kang Ji-won, "Don't think that being with you Ji-hook will change your lowly life." Hearing this, Kang Ji-won retorted without yielding, "The kind of person I hate is exactly like you." Ji-hyuk's status holds no appeal for her. As soon as Ji-hyuk returned, he saw Kang Ji-won returning the necklace. It seems she's decided to draw a line with you Ji-hyuk. Meanwhile, Kang Ji-won is forcing herself to cheer up. Now, the stomach cancer has metastasized to Yuron. So, what will become of Yuron's fate next? And Yuron's husband, like Park Min-hwan, has also had an affair. But someone has been silently watching Julon. Someone is silently watching over her. Kang Ji-won wondered if fate wasn't connected to her marriage with Park Min-hwan, but to her husband. At this moment, she received a message from Julon. Julon had already seen the specialist. The surgery can be scheduled very soon. Kang Ji-won finally relaxed. But she also learned that Ji-hyuk had been silently protecting her. Because Juran said that at the expert's place, a seat had always been kept empty. While Kang Ji-won was working overtime that night, Yoo Hee-yeon came to deliver food. She frankly admitted that her brother bought all of it. Yoo Hee-yeon knew that a conflict had arisen between them because of RA. But regardless of whether her brother broke off the engagement because of Kang Ji-won, or maybe he finally came to his senses, she strongly approves. On the other hand, Ji-hyuk went to see his grandfather. And he ran into Ura, who'd been frequently appearing there lately. While seeing Ura off, he asked her what she was trying to do. "Didn't you already agree to the annulment?" However, Ura said she hated having her things taken away by others. At the same time, Kang Ji-won learned from Yoo Hee-yeon just how crazy Kang was. Although he seems normal on the surface, he's a unique madman in this world. A girl was subjected to insane revenge just for interacting with her brother. Kang Ji-won actually knew the problem was with her. She didn't want to talk to Yoo Hee-yeon anymore. Yoo Hee-yeon confessed to her directly for her brother's sake that she wasn't Ji-hyuk's biological sister. Meanwhile, Ji-hyuk also told his grandfather what he'd been keeping inside. As a child, he relied more on his stepmother, Mrs. Cha, than his sick mother. But after learning that he and Yoo Hee-yeon were only 5 years apart, he found out about his father's affair. Therefore, he felt sorry for Yoo Hee-yeon. So after getting engaged to Ura, even though he felt he couldn't stand it, he still endured it with all his might. Because he was determined not to become like his father. But later he learned that this wasn't believable. Because he saw the final outcome. Soo-min's married life was a complete mess. Not only was the house a mess waiting for her to clean up, but her mother-in-law also gave her endless chores. After tidying the wardrobe, she had to take out all the old clothes and wash them. Before leaving, she thoughtfully played prenatal music for Xiaomin. Little did she know that her grandson didn't exist at all. Then Xiaomin worked from morning till night alone. Faced with these tedious household chores, she finally broke down. At that moment, the doorbell suddenly rang. She received a photo of Kang Ji-won's meeting with the minister, and a list of UK group shareholders. She learned that Ji-hyuk was actually the group's heir. Soo-min couldn't accept this fact. After smashing the wedding photos, she locked herself in her room. That evening, Park Min-hwan came home and saw the broken wedding photos. He questioned Soo-min about what happened. Soo-min directly gave him the photos. Park Min-hwan looked at all this in disbelief. Soo-min directly asked her if her debt was paid off. Is 100 million won enough? She thought they should get compensation from Kang Ji-won. Then Soo-min made a phone call. Immediately afterward, Kang Ji-won received a message from her runaway mother. The next day, Kang Ji-won met with her mother. As soon as they met, her mother said that thankfully Kang Ji-won inherited her good qualities/genes. So she's very pretty. She told Kang Ji-won that she didn't really like her father. It was just because she was young and had a hard life back then. That's why she went with her father. She thought she could come to like him later. But she couldn't. She hoped Kang Ji-won would understand her and apologize to her. She hadn't fulfilled her responsibilities as a mother. Kang Ji-won wondered why, if that was the case, her mother had never come to see her. Her mother explained that she had tried to see Kang Ji-won over the years, but her father had always stopped her. Now she only appeared because she heard that her father had died. Kang Ji-won knew very well that although her father had done his best to raise her, her mother's absence had resulted in. During her adolescence, she met the wrong person. She also didn't know how to express her emotions, because no one had ever taught her. Her mother felt very sorry about this. She would do her best to compensate Kang Ji-won. Before they separated, Kang Ji-won asked her mother to meet on Sunday. She wanted to go on a shopping spree with her. On Sunday, Kang Ji-won not only took photos with her mother in a photo booth. I also bought my mother everything she wanted. Finally, Kang Ji-won took her mother to a high-end restaurant for a meal. Her mother was in a great mood. Unintentionally, she revealed her inner thoughts. A daughter who dates a rich man is certainly very generous. Then Kang Ji-won said that she had broken up with Yoo Ji-hook. Her mother's face changed instantly. She questioned Kang Ji-won about why she did that. But Kang Ji-won smiled and asked her why she ran away from home. Her mother was speechless. Kang Ji-won had already guessed that her mother had appeared because of money. But her mother didn't reveal it. She had received a call from Soo-min. She just thought that since Kang Ji-won had seen through everything, why did she buy her so many things? And Kang Ji-won just wanted to try being a beloved daughter repays her mother's kindness. She wonders what it feels like to be a happy mother and daughter. Kang Ji-won is about to leave. Unexpectedly, her mother directly asks her for money. She believes that Kang Ji-won graduated from a good university and works at a large company, so she should have at least 100 million won saved. She just wants her to give her the money. She would never appear before Kang Ji-won. However, Kang Ji-won said she had no money and no mother. She didn't have them before, and she won't have them in the future. Kang Ji-won, who had left, came to his club's training session because she missed Ji-hyuk. She happened to make eye contact with Ji-hyuk, but Kang Ji-won quickly turned and left. And Ji-hyuk didn't chase after her. He's giving Kang Ji-won time. The next day, Kang Ji-won visited her father. She was truly heartbroken. This time, she wanted to do better, but she still hurt someone who liked her. After composing herself, Kang Ji-won prepared to drive home. But after she left, a car followed her. At the same time, a truck driver received a phone call, telling her to act in 3 minutes. Just as Kang Ji-won waited at a red light, the truck sped towards her from the opposite direction. Kang Ji-won was frozen in fear. But then Ji-hyuk suddenly appeared in his car. His accident happened earlier than expected. It turned out that 6 days before the accident, Yura found Park Min-hwan. She directly revealed her identity. Park Min-hwan also confirmed from Soo-min that the photos were sent to him by someone else. That person was Yura. Park Min-hwan thought the rich heiress was seeking revenge because her man was stolen. Therefore, he didn't want to let himself become Why did he get involved in their fight? He feared for his life. So he got off the car and wanted to leave, but her words hit a nerve. She thought Park Min-hwan's mindset meant he'd always remain a small fry. He didn't even have the ambition to explore the vastness of the ocean. Park Min-hwan angrily demanded to know what she was trying to do. Yura relentlessly mocks him. Let him live a pathetic life forever. He constantly complains about how bitter life is. Park Min-hwan warns her not to underestimate shrimp. Yura tells Park Min-hwan, don't think only Kang Ji-won can change his life overnight. He can too. Park Min-hwan doesn't understand why Yura chose him. Because Yura couldn't stand seeing the woman who stole from her living so well. And Park Min-hwan was also betrayed by Kang Ji-won. She not only wants to vent her anger on Kang Ji-won, but also wants to find a way to get her hands on UK Group. Park Min-hwan is tempted. He wants to know what he should do. But he didn't immediately reveal the plan. Instead, he told him to come back after making up his mind. The next day, Kang Ji-won was on a phone call in the elevator. Park Min-hwan suddenly barged in. Just as the elevator doors were closing, Park Min-hwan pushed Kang Ji-won against the wall. He didn't expect Kang Ji-won to be more ambitious than he thought. He questioned her about how she knew about Ji-hyuk, her true identity, and she also hooked up with him. Park Min-hwan guessed that the two of them must have hit it off when he proposed. That's why Kang Ji-won caused such a scene when she met his parents and put on that underwear show, making him the laughingstock of the entire company. He connected all the dots. But Kang Ji-won said everything. It all started because you cheated on Soo-min. After work that night, Dong-suk, at Ji-hyuk's request, went to find Kang Ji-won. Ji-hyuk wanted Kang Ji-won to continue judo practice, but he was worried that she might feel uncomfortable because of him, so he asked Dong-suk to teach her. Dong-suk gave Kang Ji-won his contact information. Park Min-hwan happened to see them talking. He saw the fried chicken logo on Dong-suk's clothes. He finally knew who had ruined his good deed, this man. And from his build, he realized that Dong-suk was the one who kidnapped him. He realized he'd been played by them. He decided to take revenge on Kang Ji-won. So he found URA. As soon as they met, URA let him have a boxing match. Park Min-hwan thought he was going to fight URA. He even said that as a man, he would go easy on her. Little did he know, his opponent was URA's assistant. So he was knocked out in one blow. Meanwhile, on the other side, Kang Ji-won unknowingly became one of South Korea's top real estate tycoons, because Ji-hyuk transferred the buildings under his name. The land and apartments have all been transferred to Kang Ji-won. The chairman really doesn't understand what Ji-hyuk is trying to do. Why is he preparing for Kang Ji-won's future? If he weren't managing Ji-hyuk's reports, he really would think Ji-hyuk was dying. But Ji-hyuk simply hopes that Ji-won will be able to live well a long time from now. At the same time, Park Min-hwan also learned from URA that Kang Ji-won owned a lot of real estate. The value of that real estate was approximately 80 billion won. Then URA brought out 2 boxes of cash and told Park Min-hwan that if Kang Ji-won died, he would receive 100 times that amount. Then she told Park Min-hwan some shocking news. Soo-min and Kang Ji-won are practically sisters. Park Min-hwan, upon returning home, told Soo-min that the person who sent her the photos didn't want her to go to Kang Ji-won's mother and demand money from Kang Ji-won. Besides, he failed. Instead, Kang Ji-won now has 80 billion won. Ji-hyuk gave it all to her. However, Park Min-hwan thinks this is good news for them. If Kang Ji-won dies, then her only remaining family, her mother, will inherit everything. However, Soo-min thinks that if the money goes to Kang Ji-won's mother, how could it ever reach them? Unexpectedly, Park Min-hwan told her, "Your father is still alive." The next day, Soo-min found her father. At this time, my father was being hounded by creditors because he owed money. They threatened to sell his organs. After the creditors left, Soo-min immediately took out 150 million won and gave it to them to tide them over. She said she would pay off his debts after everything was settled. She told her father that the people who gave him the money could secretly bury both of them without a trace. They just need to follow instructions. This impoverished life will end. At the same time, Ji-hyuk found URA. He brought the document proving the transfer of shares of Uncloud Airlines and Carlight Tourism, independent from the UK group. From now on, URA will have complete control. I hope she'll stop now. However, URA's ambition goes far beyond that. She still intends to make Ji-hyuk marry her as promised. Suddenly, a sound came from the bedroom. Ji-hyuk thought URA was up to something outrageous again. He hurried inside. URA was quite pleased with his reaction, because she enjoys making men uneasy. Ji-hyuk said, "What you can do, I can do too." After saying that, Ji-hyuk left immediately, and he tore up the stock transfer agreement. Then he called the chairman. After Ji-hyuk left, Park Min-hwan, who had been hiding, came out. URA told him that the stock Ji-hyuk had just brought was worth approximately 4 trillion won. So she asked Park Min-hwan to kill Kang Ji-won for her. She would take care of the aftermath. She'd clean up the mess. Lara slept with Park Min-hwan to use him. She told Park Min-hwan everything about her plan. She planned to act on the anniversary of Kang Ji-won's father's death. Kang Ji-won was visiting her father's grave on the day of the accident. Shar-hyuk received a call from the chairman. He had been keeping an eye on Lara. Kang Ji-won didn't make any moves. However, Kang Ji-won's mother secretly invested in heavy machinery. They illegally borrowed a dump truck from a contractor. Both realized that once Kang Ji-won died, the real estate registered under her name would all go to her mother. Ji-hyuk quickly called Kang Ji-won, but unfortunately, just as Kang Ji-won was about to answer, her phone died. The person following Kang Ji-won was actually Sin-woo. He had been secretly protecting Kang Ji-won at Ji-hyuk's request, but just as he was about to follow, his car broke down. At that moment, Ji-hyuk called him. He told him to stop Kang Ji-won from driving. However, Kang Ji-won had already left. So Ji-hyuk could only speed towards Kang Ji-won's location. On the way, he kept calling Kang Ji-won. But he couldn't get through because her phone was switched off. He left his message in voicemail. He told Kang Ji-won that he died in a car accident in 2023. When he opened his eyes, he was back in 2013. He saw Kang Ji-won alive. It made him think he could finally have happiness. But he couldn't protect her until the end. But he really liked Kang Ji-won. Just as Soo-min's father was driving the dump truck towards Kang Ji-won, Ji-hyuk appeared in time and shielded Kang Ji-won. Ji-hyuk was sent to the hospital. And Kang Ji-won also heard the words Ji-hyuk left for her. She would definitely regret pushing Ji-hyuk away. At the same time, Soo-min and Kang Ji-won's mother were. The hotel anxiously awaits her father. Kang Ji-won's mother thinks the crash will be over quickly. Why is there still no news? Kang Ji-won's mother isn't worried about her daughter at all. Soo-min finds it ridiculous. If she cared about money, she wouldn't be with her father. Because her father is the type who's all talk and no action, a smooth-talking charmer. He acts like he'll sacrifice everything for her. But I ended up doing nothing for you. Then, a knock came at the door. Father rushed back in, his face panicked. Seeing his expression, Soo-min knew it had gone wrong. Then, Ura also learned of the plan's failure. Because Ji-hyuk suddenly ran out and took Kang Ji-won's place, getting hit instead. He told his assistant to find Soo-min's father first. Then he told Park Min-hwan to quickly take Soo-min home. Pretend nothing happened. Don't do anything before I contact her. Park Min-hwan arrived at the hotel and saw Soo-min distraught. Her father had abandoned her again with Kang Ji-won's mother. Park Min-hwan calmed her down. This isn't over yet. RA will take care of the aftermath. If the police come later. I said I haven't contacted her father. Meanwhile, the chairman and Yoo Hee-yeon arrived at the hospital. Yoo Hee-yeon was worried that her brother wouldn't pull through. Kang Ji-won reassured her that he absolutely would. Then she saw the chairman being called away by his subordinate and followed him. She thereby learned that this wasn't a simple car accident. It was orchestrated by Soo-min's father. Kang Ji-won didn't understand, even if she killed herself, she wouldn't gain anything. Besides, Soo-min doesn't have the guts to kill anyone. The chairman believes someone must have been behind it. They're investigating it now. He revealed everything Ji-hyuk did for Kang Ji-won. Kang Ji-won only now realizes that people don't change easily, even though she came back after going all the way. But her escape ruined everything. Not only did she fail to get revenge, she accomplished nothing at all. She even put Ji-hyuk in danger. Although the surgery is over, Ji-hyuk is not in immediate danger. But it's uncertain when he will regain consciousness. Later, Kang Ji-won found Soo-min and immediately questioned her, asking if she really couldn't let herself go. How could she kill someone for money? And yet, Soo-min pretends to be innocent. She even accuses Kang Ji-won of causing her miscarriage. Kang Ji-won laughs, speechless. She directly reveals Park Min-hwan's infertility. Kang Ji-won can't take it anymore. She doesn't understand why Soo-min is doing this to her. Finally, Soo-min drops her pretense. She revealed her true colors. She won't let Kang Ji-won be happy. Soo-min thinks Kang Ji-won has no idea who she is. Her mother's lover was her own father. That's why she acts so innocent. And as a child abandoned by her father, her mother not only ignored her but also scolded her. So she secretly came to find her father. But I saw a picture of my father with Kang Ji-won's mother. My father wouldn't even answer her calls. He even treated her like a nuisance. So afterward, she deliberately approached Kang Ji-won. She stole her wallet and then kindly appeared in front of her, using this to become friends with her. Seeing how Kang Ji-won's father doted on his daughter, even giving her allowance. Her jealousy reached its peak. She thought that Kang Ji-won, like herself, would suffer miserably after being abandoned. But she was happily living under her father's care. From then on, she decided to take everything from Kang Ji-won. Soo-min's jealousy made her constantly target Kang Ji-won. She believed her life was difficult, like living in hell since childhood. Since she's so unfortunate, then Kang Ji-won can't be happy either. Kang Ji-won didn't expect the reason to be so ridiculous. It's because she already knew that Soo-min's father's mistress was her mother. When she was little, she was relieved that Soo-min didn't know about it, because Soo-min lied and said her father had passed away. She thought Sumin didn't know the truth, so I tried my best to be good to her. I thought they could be very happy together. Even at the moment of her death, she still hoped that Sumin would be happy. However, Sumin felt that Kang Ji-won was only pretending to care about her, because Kang Ji-won got a boyfriend who's a chaebol's son, but left that trash, Park Min-hwan, to her. Kang Ji-won said she brought it upon herself, and this is just the beginning. Later, Kang Ji-won went to the hospital to take care of Ji-hyuk. He received a message from Jiran. She wanted to meet Kang Ji-won because she found out about her husband's affair. It seems Kang Ji-won's fate is being reflected one by one in Jiran's life. Jiran was at her father's shop, where Kang Ji-won. At that time, the chairman was also there because he was worried about her. After seeing Julan leave in a panic, he saw her husband and the female shop assistant having an affair, so he hurried after her. Seeing Julan's distraught appearance, he felt both pity and anger. Julan felt very wronged. She thought that whether she dared to be angry or not, wasn't it wrong to behave like that? She was too kind, so she assumed the other party would treat her with the same kindness. She had always been very good to her husband, waiting for him to come to his senses. However, she was still too naive. Meanwhile, on the other side, because Yulaw had someone backing her, she had already reached an agreement with the police to portray him as a drunkard. The case of the accident caused by the hijacking of the sand truck was closed, but then she found Baek Eun-ho. She asked him about his relationship with Ji-hyuk. I wonder what she's planning. That night, Sumin secretly saved Kara's contact information to her phone while Park Min-hwan was asleep. The next day, Kang Ji-won talked to Ji-hyuk a lot while taking care of him. After all this, she has grown and become much stronger. She's no longer the Kang Ji-won who just returned. She's not afraid of fate at all now. So I hope Ji-hyuk can overcome his fate as well. Since her father passed away, she has been counting the days alone. But now she wants to count the days she spends with Ji-hyuk. Please, I hope he wakes up soon. Kang Ji-won played the voice message Ji-hyuk left for her. At that moment, Ji-hyuk actually woke up. Ji-hyuk was discharged from the hospital after his recovery. Because the chairman only sent people to follow Park Min-hwan and the others after the accident, they found nothing. He thought that if Ji-hyuk had known anything beforehand, he could have told him. They wouldn't be so passive. The chairman believes the only way now is to find Sumin's father and Kang Ji-won's mother. And that side is certainly looking for them too. The question is which side will find them first. Afterwards, Kang Ji-won apologized to Ji-hyuk for not trusting him earlier. The two reconciled. After learning about her husband's affair, Kang Ji-won realized that Sumin and Min Hwan's marriage wasn't the end of the matter. There had to be something more after that. She had to find the answers to protect Jiran. And Jiran, after learning about her husband's affair, started collecting evidence, preparing to divorce him. She pulled out the memory card from the dashcam. But for some reason, there was only audio, no video. Therefore, the police deemed the evidence insufficient. So Julan planned to confront her husband with the police. She told her husband she was going to the hospital today. But actually, she went to the company. She planned to catch him in the act that night. Because as long as she went to the hospital, her husband would bring that woman home. Julan didn't intend to go this far, but she felt she couldn't be soft-hearted. So before leaving, she even broke the door lock. This sentence made Kang Ji-won think of. In her past life, the lock on her family's door was also broken. Too many similarities to her past life made Kang Ji-won worried that Julan would be in danger. So she suggested going with Julan. That night, after Julan and the others saw the woman go in, they waited outside for a while before taking action. Everything that followed unfolded exactly as it had in Kang Ji-won's past life. First, the broken door lock. Then, Kang Ji-won saw red high heels, just like Xiaomin's. Next, the candy scattered on the floor. But perhaps they arrived too early. Nothing has happened between the husband and the woman. The woman explains that she came to deliver some side dishes because she knew Julan was hospitalized. So she brought some small dishes. The husband takes the opportunity to question Julan about why she would suspect him. Because there's no evidence. The husband feels he's been wronged. He angrily tells the police to leave immediately. He also tells the woman not to appear in front of him again. Yuran asked Kang Ji-won to leave first. She wanted to have a good talk with her husband. Before leaving, Kang Ji-won saw the coffee table in the living room, and her subsequent actions completely shocked Euron's husband. She smashed the coffee table with a billiard cue. The loud crash attracted the police who had already left. Seeing the police, the husband immediately accused Kang Ji-won of damaging his property and demanded compensation. Zhu Lang could no longer tolerate it and loudly stopped her husband. She thought her husband was shameless. She should be thankful she wasn't caught in the act. She knew everything her husband did with that woman in the car. Zhu Lang knew everything they did. He even tried to defraud her insurance money. The guilty husband pushed Zhu Lang to the ground. Luckily, Kang Ji-won had smashed the coffee table earlier. Otherwise, Zhu Lan might die here just like Kang Ji-won in her past life. Then, several people were taken to the police station. Ji Hyuk and the chairman also rushed over. Seeing that the two were all right, their hearts were relieved. Before parting, Kang Ji-won told Zhu Lan absolutely not to meet her husband alone. Zhu Lan didn't understand what Kang Ji-won meant, but Kang Ji-won couldn't explain it to her. He could only say he would go see her after work. Then the chairman suddenly said she would accompany Euron. Euron needs a lawyer for the divorce. He could help with that. Ji Hyuk told Kang Ji-won to rest assured. Euron could trust the chairman, because he's a man of his word. Kang Ji-won thinks the shift in fate doesn't seem accidental. If the cancer stemmed from the stress of her cold husband, then where did the fate of being murdered by her husband come from? Was it the broken lock? The red high heels? The spilled candy jar? Or was it her husband's affair with someone he knew? Or those scumbag Kaihang insurance benefits? Kang Ji-won suddenly remembered the driving recorder Duran got. The memory card mentioned his wife's death. If the husband is gone, she'll have a good life. Kang Ji-won instantly understood the problem. She also knew what she had to do to make the fate of her past life manifest in Soo-min. Kang Ji-won planned to seduce Park Min-hwan into having an affair, just like Soo-min in her past life. Kang Ji-won knew Ji Hyuk wouldn't be happy about this. But if the fate of killing the adulterous husband isn't transferred to Jong Soo-min, Euron will die. Ji Hyuk agreed. He told Kang Ji-won to go ahead and do it, and that he would do everything he could to help her. So Kang Ji-won put on the red high heels and took the crucial step to transfer fate. Ji Hyuk deliberately assigned the ready-made meal project to someone else in front of Park Min-hwan. Then Kang Ji-won pretended to be angry and accused Ji Hyuk, saying that it was wrong of him to give her project to someone else. Ji Hyuk retorted, "Why didn't you think it was wrong when you took the money and broke up with me?" He told Kang Ji-won to resign immediately. He wanted Kang Ji-won to resign immediately. Park Min-hwan, who was eavesdropping, was shocked. He didn't expect that the two of them had broken up. While he was pondering this alone, Kang Ji-won appeared before him. She told him something had happened, and wanted to have a drink with him. Kang Ji-won told him that Chairman Park Min-hwan had given her 80 billion won to break up with the minister, and the minister was furious. She accepted the chairman's money, so now she doesn't know what to do. Park Min-hwan thinks this is reasonable, even if the minister has a lot of money. They were just dating. How could he give Kang Ji-won 800 billion won for no reason? But if the chairman gave Kang Ji-won the money to leave, it makes sense as a breakup fee. At the same time, Soo-min called Agent Kim out, because during that time, she made countless calls to Park Min-hwan, but he didn't answer any of them. So she could only contact Agent Kim. Agent Kim's heart was broken when Soo-min got married. Seeing Soo-min after her marriage, she felt that Soo-min had changed a lot. She reminded Soo-min to be vigilant, because Kang Ji-won was becoming more beautiful day by day. She and Park Min-hwan see each other at the company all day. Perhaps their old feelings will rekindle. I didn't expect Director Kim's prediction to come true. Kang Ji-won, to tempt Park Min-hwan, began to reminisce with him about their past. She said those were precious memories to her. And Park Min-hwan also thought only Kang Ji-won could tolerate his temper. Then he asked Kang Ji-won if she had completely broken up with the minister. Kang Ji-won told him it was over, but because he almost got hit by a dump truck before, the minister suddenly rushed out and shielded her. So things became extremely complicated. He also asked Park Min-hwan if he knew who the dump truck driver was, and he directly said Soo-min's father's name. Soo-min, back home, was restless. She tried calling Park Min-hwan and texting him, but he didn't respond. Thinking of manager Kim's words, she thought Park Min-hwan wanted to kill Kang Ji-won. How could he rekindle his old flame with her? However, she didn't know that Kang Ji-won was gradually winning Park Min-hwan over. Kang Ji-won told Park Min-hwan. The car accident not only revealed Soo-min's true nature to her, but also showed her that the minister had been keeping someone on her tail. Otherwise, they wouldn't have avoided seeing each other after their breakup. Why did the minister suddenly appear on the day of the accident? Kang Ji-won felt like she was constantly being watched. She was terrified. This line of reasoning successfully hooked Park Min-hwan. He began to brainwash himself. They think Ji Hyuk is a chaebol's third-generation heir. Of course Kang Ji-won would choose to be with him. But after getting 80 billion won, breaking up is only natural. After all, Kang Ji-won isn't the type to be a wealthy family's daughter-in-law. Then Kang Ji-won suddenly asked him, "Can't you break up with Soo-min?" Now she knows how terrible Soo-min is. She hopes Park Min-hwan will return to her. This was exactly what Park Min-hwan wanted. He embraced Kang Ji-won. He decided to get back together with Kang Ji-won. Meanwhile, Ji Hyuk was watching them from a distance. As soon as Park Min-hwan left, he immediately hugged Kang Ji-won. This way, he could extinguish the jealousy burning in his heart and think clearly. Park Min-hwan, having left, received a call from URA. He told URA about his meeting with Kang Ji-won. Kang Ji-won is completely unaware of her involvement in the car accident. So, all they need to do is get rid of Kang Ji-won's mother and Soo-min's father. Then they can possess the 800 billion won. Kang Ji-won will return to him. And URA will get the UK group and Ji Hyuk. Hanging up the phone, URA thinks Park Min-hwan underestimates Kang Ji-won. Things aren't as simple as he thinks. But if Kang Ji-won really returns to Park Min-hwan, it's best not to let Kang Ji-won know that Park Min-hwan once tried to kill her. So she ordered the killing of Kang Ji-won's mother and Soo-min's father. Then, no matter what tricks Kang Ji-won plays, without those two, she can't prove anything. Meanwhile, as soon as Park Min-hwan got home, he filed for divorce from Soo-min. The reason being that there's no benefit in being with her. Unexpectedly, Soo-min suddenly asked him if he had been meeting with Kang Ji-won. Park Min-hwan nervously asked her why she mentioned Kang Ji-won. Soo-min knew that if he got back together with Kang Ji-won, only she herself would be hurt. On the other hand, someone had bought out the restaurant where Baek Eun-ho worked. They gave him two choices. One was to help them acquire the restaurant. The other was to lose his job outright. Baek Eun-ho chose not to help her, so he lost his job. He was very upset after being rejected by Kang Ji-won before. He was glad that Yoo Hee-yeon comforted him, so he asked Yoo Hee-yeon out. After learning about his unemployment, Yoo Hee-yeon immediately started comforting him. Yoo Hee-yeon was very empathetic, because she was also having problems at work. Then she suddenly remembered that the head chef for the ready meal project had quit, and Baek Eun-ho was that chef. So the next day she took Baek Eun-ho to the company. And Kang Ji-won learned from Baek Eun-ho that a woman had bought their restaurant. Although Baek Eun-ho didn't know who she was, Kang Ji-won already guessed that it was URA. She was sorry to have caused Baek Eun-ho trouble. She told Ji Hyuk about it. But Ji Hyuk told her not to worry. He knew what was going on. Because URA's assistant was sitting opposite him at that moment. It wasn't only URA who could threaten the people around him. He could too. He gave his assistant two choices. One was to help me. Secondly, to bring down Woo URA. At the same time, Park Min-hwan called Kang Ji-won using the company's internal phone, pretending to chat with a client. He actually invited Kang Ji-won to meet that evening. Kang Ji-won had already agreed to the plan. But then Ji Hyuk suddenly called, telling her that Park Min-hwan already has a woman. And that woman is Woo URA. He'd already had his assistant deliver the red high heels to Yura and the candy jar. This way, Kang Ji-won wouldn't have to play along with Park Min-hwan. She directly rejected Park Min-hwan's invitation, no longer playing games with him. At this time, Kang Ji-won didn't know that her actions had directly enraged Park Min-hwan. That night, URA had her assistant fabricate Kang Ji-won's mother and Soo-min's father's suicide. After placing their suicide notes in the car, she ignited the charcoal. Meanwhile, Soo-min decided to divorce Park Min-hwan. After texting Park Min-hwan, she called URA, unsure of her plans. At the same time, Kang Ji-won was preparing to leave the office when her phone rang. But when it connected, no one spoke. Only an eerie laugh. Kang Ji-won hung up immediately, terrified. But the phone rang again the next second. She heard Ji Hyuk's voice. Kang Ji-won's heart settled. It turned out Kang Ji-won's phone was in her bag and she didn't answer the call. That's why Ji Hyuk called her at the office. Just as Kang Ji-won was about to leave, she heard a noise coming from the break room. She went in to check and saw that Kang Ji-won hadn't turned off the tap. After she turned it off, the lights in the break room suddenly went out. She hurried out, gathering her things to leave. Unexpectedly, Park Min-hwan appeared at that moment. He questioned her about toying with his feelings. He truly intended to return to Kang Ji-won's side. Kang Ji-won questioned him. A person who so easily kills others values his own life so much? Park Min-hwan, after hearing this, directly grabbed Kang Ji-won's neck. Since Kang Ji-won wanted to die, he would grant her wish. Just as Kang Ji-won was losing consciousness, Ji Hyuk arrived just in time. Park Min-hwan spent a night in the police station for assault. On his way home, suddenly, he received a call from his company. The chairman informed him that he was fired, effective immediately. The legal department had already delivered the termination letter to his home. Immediately afterward, his bank loan manager also called. Because he was fired from the company, his loan, which used his position as collateral, had matured. But it's not over yet. Park Min-hwan just got home. People from the loan shark company downstairs had been waiting for him. These people warned him that those who didn't repay their loans would have a hole poked in some part of their body. Then they beat Park Min-hwan up. The guy remembered his wife, Soo-min, had made a lot of money from stocks. So he logged into her online banking. But surprisingly, Kang Ji-won's account had 80 million won. Then, Park Min-hwan found a large amount of cash in the closet. Looking at the money, he guessed it was the money Soo-min had withheld when she hired someone to kill Kang Ji-won. But it was just enough to solve his immediate problem. On the other hand, to protect herself, Soo-min pulled out her phone and played a recording. It contained the voices of Ura and her father. I discussed with Kang Ji-won's mother about not killing Kang Ji-won. Ura is a smart person. I want to know what she intends to get from me by doing this. Soo-min still can't figure it out. All we need to do is ruin Kang Ji-won. However, Soo-min and Kang Ji-won suddenly asked others to stop. Following that, Park Min-hwan filed for divorce. Ura's father and Kang Ji-won's mother aren't answering their phones either. She instantly reacted. If this continues, only she will be ruined. So, Soo-min threatened her, saying that she needed to do something for herself. However, this provocation thoroughly enraged Ura. She instructed her bodyguard to temporarily prevent the news of Ura's father and Kang Ji-won's mother's deaths from breaking. If Soo-min felt threatened, it wouldn't be good for her. At the same time, she was also thinking about how to get rid of Park Min-hwan and Soo-min together. Meanwhile, Soo-min received a sudden call from Ji-hyuk. They met at a bar that afternoon. As soon as Ji-hyuk sat down, Soo-min began using her charm and usual tactics to attract him. Because she thought she still had a chance, Soo-min feigned difficulty, describing her unhappy life. She's currently staying at a hotel. She confessed that she had been blinded by love and betrayed her best friend. On the surface, he's complaining that Park Min-hwan wants a divorce. In reality, he's revealing he's currently single. Soo-min's expression immediately changed upon hearing this. Ji-hyuk ignored her. He indicated he already knew Kang Ji-won and Park Min-hwan were back together. It was clear Soo-min was unaware of this. So Ji-hyuk asked her to report them for adultery. He said he would provide the necessary evidence, the information and the best defense lawyer. Soo-min doesn't understand why he's suddenly helping her. Ji-hyuk reveals that if Soo-min divorces, she won't receive the compensation from her previous work at the company. However, Soo-min isn't a fool. She desperately wants to know what Ji-hyuk stands to gain. Ji-hyuk doesn't hide it. He hopes Kang Ji-won will return to him, so the two of them can cooperate. Actually, this was all Kang Ji-won and Yoo Ji-hyuk's plan. In this way, Soo-min will not only find out about Kang Ji-won and Park Min-hwan's affair with Ura, but also learn about the family insurance the company provides to its employees. The two are guiding her through a life Kang Ji-won once lived. Meanwhile, the bodyguard receives the news. Ji-hyuk bought all of Park Min-hwan's debts. He's putting all the pressure on him. And he's also searching everywhere for Kala's father and Kang Ji-won's mother. Although Ji-hyuk can't find them, confronting UK directly might not be beneficial. Kala reminds the bodyguard that Ji-hyuk's grandfather, Yoo Ji-hyuk, is different. Scene change. She's playing chess with the old man, attempting to gain approval through such means. However, Ji Hyuk directly stated that he brought his girlfriend home today, and therefore didn't want his ex-fiancée at the house. This girlfriend is Kang Ji-won. This angered Ura considerably. She decided to personally deal with Kang Ji-won. Inside, the grandfather's attitude it was completely different when they first met. He opposed his grandson's relationship with Kang Ji-won. Unexpectedly, Kang Ji-won persuaded the old man with her persuasive words. The next day, Kang Ji-won ran into Soo-min at the company. This person stopped her and began a vicious verbal attack. Being dumped by a boyfriend of 7 years is understandable, but how could she attract a married man and cause him to be on the verge of divorce? Kang Ji-won didn't tolerate Soo-min's behavior. She took out her phone and called security. Then, while she hadn't been thrown out yet, she ironically implied that it wasn't her who was involved with someone else's boyfriend. Soo-min obtained Park Min-hwan this way. So, are you worried someone else will do the same? But don't forget one thing. Park Min-hwan is someone who abandoned his girlfriend of 7 years. Could it be that you don't know he could abandon his wife in the same way? Soo-min was furious. She threatened to post a big character poster at the company to expose their improper relationship. Unexpectedly, Kang Ji-won's kind reminder was that Park Min-hwan had already been fired by the company. In the end, Soo-min was thrown out of the company by security guards. Before she could even recover, Kang Ji-won intentionally sent the suggestive text message meant for Park Min-hwan to her phone instead. Soo-min completely lost her composure. She plunged headlong into revenge. This perfectly played into the revenge plan the two leads had devised in advance. Soon, Soo-min called Ji Hyuk. She agreed to cooperate, and she declared that she would destroy Kang Ji-won. Next, it's time to lure Park Min-hwan into the trap. Meanwhile, Ji Hyuk sent Park Min-hwan an insurance contract in the company's name. One clause caught his attention. A payout of 500 million won is available upon the death of a spouse. The guy immediately found Ura. He fell to his knees with a thud. He wanted to make a deal. He's responsible for eliminating his wife and removing future threats. Then no one can threaten Ura anymore. After hearing Park Min-hwan's plan, Ura decided to stabilize him first, and made a small sacrifice. On the other hand, Ji Hyuk received news that Park Min-hwan had arrived at Ura's room. The day of counterattack is today. So he sent a text message to Soo-min. He lied, saying that Kang Ji-won and Park Min-hwan were meeting in a certain room. Then Kang Ji-won pretended to go there, only to be deliberately tricked by him, Kang Ji-won. While Soo-min was following him, he made a feint. He hid in a corner beside the elevator. The play of exchanging lives officially began. Soo-min stormed into the room. Her life perfectly mirrored Kang Ji-won's from her previous life. A man and a woman's conversation suddenly came from the bedroom. Soo-min vaguely saw Park Min-hwan and a woman lying in bed. She was experiencing Kang Ji-won's life. Soo-min burst into the room. She threatened to report Ura for murdering the elderly couple and the recording to the police. Then she would sue Park Min-hwan for adultery. Just then, the bodyguard suddenly appeared. He knocked the troublemaking Soo-min unconscious. A pair of bright red high heels lay on the ground. Turning around, Park Min-hwan carried the unconscious Soo-min, planning to find a place to silence her. However, Law had instructed the bodyguard to report him to the media after he killed her. He wanted to erase all traces of his own involvement. After a short while, Soo-min woke up from her coma. The situation frightened her. She pleaded, offering to give Park Min-hwan all her money. What she didn't expect was that Park Min-hwan had already transferred all the money out of the account. Furthermore, the pink bag Kang Ji-won gave her had also been sold, under the guise of helping her husband overcome difficulties. In short, Park Min-hwan had already made up his mind to kill Soo-min. He left the room and went to the storage room downstairs. He attempted to cut the gas pipe to make Soo-min's death look like suicide. However, when he returned to the room, Soo-min, who had been tied up, was gone. Soo-min forced Park Min-hwan to hand over his car keys. This scared him so much that he immediately gave them up. Actually, between the two of them, there were more than 800 tricks. Park Min-hwan had lost his mind. He picked up his wife from the ground, and then threw her heavily onto the nearby table. However, Soo-min was not Kang Ji-won. She kicked Park Min-hwan in the groin. The pain made him roll on the ground, writhing in agony. Even then, she didn't forget to mock the man before her. She revealed that Park Min-hwan was actually impotent. In fact, she hadn't been pregnant at all. Kang Ji-won had told himself he was infertile. Park Min-hwan, feeling insulted, immediately started fighting with Soo-min again. Unexpectedly, Soo-min picked up a glass of water and smashed it hard on his head. Then, as in his past life, she pushed him with all her might. Park Min-hwan fell straight down. Kang Ji-won, who felt as if he had cancer, he stopped breathing right then and there. The next day, Ji Hyuk received a call from the chairman. The evidence of Jiran's divorce suddenly reappeared. Upon hearing this news, he looked at Kang Ji-won. In other words, the life transfer was a success. However, the police investigation revealed that Park Min-hwan's death was caused by hitting his head on a table corner. Because evidence was left at the scene, Soo-min became the prime suspect. But the surveillance cameras weren't on. The police are still investigating. That night, Soo-min appeared downstairs from Ji Hyuk's apartment. Clearly, she wouldn't let Kang Ji-won go. After Park Min-hwan's death, the police summoned URA. But because there was no evidence, we had to release Yura. But the old man knew what kind of person she was. So he revoked her shareholder rights and sent her to Africa as a volunteer. It was a chance for her to reform. However, Yura was not satisfied. She guessed the old man did this because he liked Kang Ji-won. And there's no evidence. She also threatened the old man not to provoke her. But Ji Hyuk wouldn't give her the chance. Because he shouldn't have touched Kang Ji-won from the start. Before he finished speaking, Soo-min's father and Kang Ji-won's mother got out of the car. Yura was a little shocked to see them. And all of this was in Ji Hyuk's plan. It turns out he bribed Eula's secretary. He learned that the old couple were to be silenced. So he rescued them with the chairman. Now we have both witnesses and evidence. Eula will spend the rest of his life in prison. Good news came the next day. Zulan's surgery was a complete success. And her divorce from that trash husband is almost certain. Yoo Hee-yeon bravely confessed her feelings to Baek Eun-ho. Coincidentally, Baek Eun-ho liked her too. On the other hand, Soo-min bought a large container of accelerant. That night, someone rang the doorbell at Kang Ji-won's house. But nothing was visible in the peephole. Kang Ji-won cautiously opened the door. The hallway was also empty. Just as she was about to close the door, Soo-min, while Kang Ji-won was unconscious, drenched her apartment in accelerant. Furthermore, she specifically looked up information that curtains are usually the biggest factor in building fires. After this explanation, Soo-min knelt before Kang Ji-won. Unexpectedly, Kang Ji-won laughed after hearing this. She exclaimed that Soo-min was exactly like she imagined. I was also worried about what to do if she ever got smart. Sure enough, she's only this capable. Falling into the depths suits Soo-min well. However, Soo-min didn't understand the meaning behind the words. The truly bad one is Kang Ji-won. Knowing that Park Min-hwan is trash, she still throws him to me. Taking all the good things for herself, Soo-min has already made up her mind. After she burned Kang Ji-won to death, she turned herself in. She claimed it was manslaughter regarding Park Min-hwan. As long as she puts on a remorseful act, everyone will continue to pity her. So she won this game. However, Kang Ji-won sneered, telling Soo-min that she was the one who won. Kang Ji-won revealed that she learned a lot for Soo-min. I've been dragged down by her my whole life, so I decided to face Soo-min instead of running away. But Soo-min knows that she'll be released soon for involuntary manslaughter. She threatened to destroy Kang Ji-won after she gets out. However, Kang Ji-won reminded her that someone just admitted to involuntary manslaughter because it was all caught on the living room security camera. It turns out that when Soo-min bought the accelerant, he was recognized as a wanted fugitive by the owner of the small shop. This news immediately reached Ji Hyuk's ears. The chairman suggested strengthening security, but it was rejected by Kang Ji-won. So he thought of using a counter-strategy. After all, Kang Ji-won knows Soo-min too well. Then Ji Hyuk installed cameras in the corners of the apartment and taught her how to be bound with zip ties. At that moment, she broke free and performed a double shoulder throw. Thus, Soo-min's friend was legally arrested by the police. It seemed life returned to calm. However, Ji Hyuk's fate continued. He ultimately couldn't escape death in a car accident. On the other hand, Yura used her wealth and influence to buy herself one day. To avoid legal punishment, she must leave South Korea as soon as possible. For this, she didn't hesitate to abandon her secretary. She drove to the airport alone. The next morning, The heart-shaped graffiti on Ji-won's chest was gone. Suddenly, the news reported that Ura, on her way to the airport, was involved in a car accident and died after being sent to the hospital. The prosecution expressed deep regret over this, but we still need to investigate the truth behind her instigation of murder. In other words, Ji-hyuk's life was transferred to Ura. Cut to Kang Ji-won and Yoo Ji-hyuk lived happily ever after. She had a request that day. She wanted to take Ji-hyuk somewhere on the weekend, the park where they first met. Kang Ji-won wanted to take the next step there. Before he finished speaking, Ji-hyuk turned and left, leaving Kang Ji-won alone, flustered, where he stood. However, after a short while, Ji-hyuk reappeared, holding a bouquet of flowers. Because only a man can propose. Then he knelt down on one knee and took out a ring. Kang Ji-won was too moved to speak, but she nodded firmly. Logically, the story should end here. However, in prison, Soo-min showed no remorse. She complained to every fellow inmate, portraying herself as a victim persecuted by her best friend. She presented herself as someone who endured silently, pitiful and helpless. As a result, everyone felt sorry for her. One day, someone came to visit Soo-min. It was her deceased husband, Park Min-hwan. She instantly collapsed to the ground, wilted like a frostbitten eggplant. It turned out Park Min-hwan wanted Soo-min's help. He wanted her to give his death compensation to Kang Ji-won. Suddenly, Soo-min woke up in fright. What had just happened was all a dream, but her nerves had completely broken down. She became a complete and utter psychiatric patient. Not long after, Ji-hyuk and Kang Ji-won held their wedding ceremony. Under the blessings of all their relatives and friends, the two exchanged vows. And so the story ends. Thank you for watching this drama with Xiao Shuai.